Alrighty. I think we are live. Let me double check. Do a little refresh. Put the phone on Do Not Disturb. We're good to go. Alrighty, guys. Hello. Let me turn my headphones off. Won't need those for a while. How is everybody doing? Let's do this. We're going to talk a little bit about Sword and Shield today. If anyone's interested, we'll touch on some other stuff too. And if you guys have questions, we can go over those as well. I will talk about Ascended a little bit as well because the booster bundle conversation I think is interesting. Let's see who's in here. Cuevas, good. What's up, man? Cardboard Wealth, how's it going? DJ, I saw this too. You didn't at all. No, I normally record around this time, and I just didn't feel like making a video today. Felt like going live. Honestly, I really enjoy doing lives. They're a lot of fun. So it's more interactive, and I feel like it's more. It's easier for me to put content out like this. Honestly, sometimes I just don't feel like editing, and maybe that makes me just not even record a video sometimes. So doing lives are a lot of fun. Just make it a 3-way stream, you, Grayson, Retro. Yeah, I would be down for sure sometimes, for sure. I actually haven't ever talked to Retro, but he's someone I do want to talk to for sure. Solano's in here. Sup, boss? How's it going? Dislodge is in here as well. How's it going as well? By the way, where are you guys from? Is everyone from the States in here? US? Canada? How does everyone feel about the World Baseball Classic? I'm not sure if anyone in here is a baseball fan, but A-Town Goods, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by. Shots fired. No, it's all good. It's all good. I didn't even realize you were streaming or that you had set up a stream. I just wanted to hop on here. I don't have planned lives unless I'm bringing on a guest, which obviously, like, if I'm doing that, I'll plan it out in advance. But no, if it's something just organic, I'll hop on here. Fairly new in here. You do a great job. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. I'm guessing, are you fairly new to Pokemon investing or just new to the channel? Either way, welcome. Abraham's in here. Bought 5 more Evolving Skies in the last month. Can't ignore no movement for 8 months. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit today because it's interesting. It seems like there's a little bit of momentum building in the Sword and Shield era. Not every set, but we'll get into that here in a couple minutes. Let's see. Jamie's in here. Grayson, what's up? Thanks for all of your hard work and dedication. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for stopping by the stream. Hopefully you can get something out of it. SoCal. Awesome, man. Beautiful weather in SoCal. New Brunswick, Canada. That's maybe not as beautiful weather. I don't know. We're halfway through March at this point, though. 2/3 almost. So maybe the weather's getting better. We had snow this week in Nelson, so not a fun time. I mean, most of it didn't stick, maybe a couple hours, but definitely not SoCal weather. Let's say that. Do you think we will get an Ascended UPC or SPC? I don't know. No clue. No clue what Pokemon's cooking. I would hope so. And if it's something that has a really good promo, I'm probably going to be jumping on it because it's a specialty set. DJ from Virginia, right? VA. I'm not perfect with the US states, but I'm getting there, learning a little bit. US hockey sweep. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. Chicago suburbs. Awesome. All right, guys, let's get into this. Let me go like this. The numbers are going to be very small. Apologies if you're watching on your phone or you have a small laptop screen or something. I'll do my best to actually, you know what? Let me just make this larger. Let's see. We're not going to be able to see all the numbers, but we can see the most important ones, I'd say. So this is coming from the spreadsheet. Past couple weeks of Sword and Shield era. I talked about this week up here, week 48. in a video last week, and I was kind of surprised with how bad the sales volume was last week. I kind of expected because a lot of the SVR was popping off, maybe some of the dollars would start going towards Sword and Shield. I'm not sure if everyone's just pumping money into Ascended right now and some other sets, and maybe that's why, but it was a little bit better this week. So I would ignore Sword and Shield base to Vivid, even Battle Styles. It is what it is, guys. I mean, Battle Styles, it'll move eventually, but yeah, there's still a decent amount of supply, shockingly, of some of these sets. Chilling Rain, this is what I want to point out here because there's 60 boxes listed below 598. True North had some boxes at 598.88, so we're not capturing those, but there's probably, I'd say, 80 boxes below $600. The other thing too, 1.57 boxes selling per day. Over the past 48 hours, there was, I believe, 9 sales of Chilling Buy It Now on eBay. So maybe next week it'll be higher. Like maybe that's a sign of what's to come. But the earlier Sword and Shield era sets, even a couple of the alt art sets, not doing too hot. But it gets interesting when we start looking at Evolving Skies. I'm just checking the chat here too, guys, trying to balance this as well. Now you can see here Evolving, 38 boxes listed below $3,030 approximately, selling at 3 per day. That's basically the same as last week. 3 boxes moving. A little bit more supply out there, not a big deal. I mean, TCG player price went up around $50, which means we're going to capture new listings. For example, last week, only capturing up to $29.68.45. A lot of sellers put their boxes at like $29.99 or $3,000. So honestly, that's actually a pretty good number, I'd say, this week. The other thing too with Fusion, 60 boxes, this might not look like the most enticing buy right now or a box that we'd expect to move, but out of these 60 boxes, I think 34 of them were from Game Deal Daily, 34 or 33. And then I think Hobbiesville had 11 or 12 too. So you remove all those, we're less than 3 cases probably of Fusion below $1,200. And I think Game Deal Daily was at 1197 too. So not a ton of listings below $1,000, even below like 1100, and they're selling pretty decently this week. I mean, the rest of the era too, Brilliant, Astral, Lost, Silver, we're starting to see a bit of an uptick, which maybe it continues next week, maybe it doesn't, but I can only present to you guys what I see over the past 7 days. So there it is. Let me scroll down a little bit here, and you guys can just take in all the numbers from this week while I look at chat. See if there's anything new here. Watching from Norway. Awesome, man. Dennis, what's up? Let's get it. Ice, thank you for stopping by. Van City. Awesome, man. Vancouver is an interesting place. I don't think I could ever live there personally. It's just too big. Too big. I mean, traffic obviously isn't the worst in the world, but for me, there's just too much going on. I do like visiting the odd time though. Have friends in Van and on the island, so it's nice to get down there. Anthony's in here. What's up, Boof? Thank you for stopping by. Football Shorts 123. Hello. How's it going, man? No, not now. It's 2 hours from now. DJ, I will try and get done in less than 2 hours then. And then anyone watching the stream, go check out DJ's live after. What's your favorite SV set, boss man? Tristan, that's a good question. I would say now, favorite set in terms of like what I like to collect versus an investment. I would say what I like to collect, I really like Paldea. I opened a decent amount of Paldea when those boxes were like $80, $90. Didn't pull anything crazy like the Magikarp. I think I pulled Miss Magus, couple other decent IR Skeledirge. So I like that set, Gen 9 starters and the evolutions. In terms of investment, it's Prismatic for sure. Part of it just because last year was such a meme. And then this year, I mean, we're actually going to talk about Prismatic a little bit. I guess I can share this right now. The ETBs are now over $200 on TCG Player. I think this is the first time they've ever actually been above $200 on the graph. And you guys can see, I mean, when everyone was memeing on this last year, 85, $90, you could buy these on Facebook all day after they were hitting the Costco restocks, the Sam's Clubs. TCG Player, I don't think ever got lower than like 90. I don't think, even like 95. That was basically the bottom, and it's probably going to be the bottom. I highly doubt Pokemon prints as much Prismatic this year as they did last year. And even if they did, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near those prices. So, congrats to everyone who got into Prismatic early. What do you think about moving mid-tier Sword and Shield booster boxes into the bigger SV sets, Prismatic, Destined Rivals, etc.? From Manchester, awesome. Uh, Good question. I would say, let me pop the Sword and Shield stuff back up on screen for you guys. I'm kind of planning to do something similar this year. For me, the first set that's going to go is Astral, and I don't have a ton of Astral. I have 6 boxes. I'll probably sell 4 and keep 2 just so I have a little bit because you never know. Um, After that, it would be Chilling. Brilliant has definitely pulled away from Chilling this year. So for me, I definitely want to hold my Brilliant as long as possible. At the same time, it just feels like these should be double what they are. It just feels like it's only a matter of time before everybody turns back to the Sword and Shield era and things pop off. I mean, Sun and Moon did that. Things kind of doubled out of nowhere. XY did it as well last year. Obviously, Sword and Shield had a decent run too, but I don't know. And it's kind of a vibe thing, honestly. But it just seems like these should all be $1,000, $1,500 boxes in the future. Not saying right now, but I think the buyout will eventually come, and it might be this year. So it's a tough thing to balance because I believe some of these weaker Sword and Shield era sets probably are going to get outperformed by better SV era stuff over the next few years. And that's why I want to move out of a couple of those sets. But at the same time, it just feels like the whole era is kind of due for a move because it hasn't really done anything for 12 months, like you've said. So it's yeah, I don't think it's a bad play, but don't be surprised if you do it now if you miss out on some gains over the next 12 months. Justin says new to your channel too. Awesome, man. Thank you for subbing if you're subbed or stopping by watching the streams. Appreciate it. It's mid 90s in San Diego right now, a little warm. I'll be honest, Dislodged, I have no idea how to do the conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. I'm guessing that's probably like 20 something, right? Mid 20s maybe, low 20s. But I mean better than snow, I would say. And I'm not a huge fan of super hot weather, but at the same time, snow is just it ain't it for me, man. You're better at US states than I'm at Canada states. Yeah, the provinces in Canada, man, are I don't know. I think even Canadians sometimes forget like spelling and like Saskatchewan, growing up and having to spell Saskatchewan, good luck. Even nowadays. Illinois, awesome. Thank you for stopping by. Big prismatic bundle display, or sorry, big prismatic bundle restock. I don't know why I read display. Best time to buy right now? Yeah, I would say so. I think it's a good time to buy the bundles. I mean, the ETBs just don't seem like the best value anymore, being 200 bucks. If we get a restock of these, sure, it might be worth grabbing more, but the bundles are what, $70 right now. So it seems like a good time to be picking up more of those. I mean, too, when you look at where 151 bundles are and Crown Zenith and Paldean Fates, all these really strong specialty sets, I think it's safe to assume prismatic bundles are going to be $150, $200 in the future. Now, will that be a year from now, 2 years from now? Who knows? But I think it's reasonable to assume that will eventually happen. Evo leads the way. Yeah, I mean, Evo, it seems like it's probably always going to lead the way, or at least for the most part. It's just kind of how the best sets tend to perform, right? They'll move. And then after that, people will look at something like Brilliant or Chilling or Astral and be like, hey, maybe these are undervalued compared to the rest of the era. So yeah, the sales volume on Evolving is very impressive. at $2,600. So demand is dry on the sealed side at the moment. It's dry on the graded side for me. FOMO, do you mean in regards to Sword and Shield era? All eras? Because I wouldn't say this is dry. Like this is fairly normal for the Sword and Shield era, somewhere between like 2 and 3 boxes per day for most of these. It was just last week, if I scroll up a bit, a lot of these were like less than 2 boxes. Chilling, Fusion was 1.29, so 9 sales in 7 days. Astral was less than a box, Silver as well. This was a very dry week for Sword and Shield. This week is more normal, right? That's a fairly consistent range. I also don't know why this box is red on my screen. Interesting. But yeah, I'd say it's a fairly normal week. You talk like someone who has no idea what he's talking about. So I will bless you as a collector investor since 2017. Just buy Sword and Shield and SV, especially destined when it dips a bit. Avoid Mega Evolution. Damien, thank you for your opinion. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, if anyone wants to take Damien Mydolowski 4312's advice, just go ahead and buy Sword and Shield and Esfera. Thank you, man. In Poland. Oh, you're from Poland too. Very interesting, man. Yeah. I'm in on Prismatic PC and Paldean Fates PCTPs since around $250. Would you personally be still holding these sets through end of year, taking profits more aggressively now? Look, Joel. I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm not super bullish on PCTBs. There are people out there that are way more bullish than me, and I think part of it's I don't know, maybe just cope on my end. Like who knows? Um, I'm not a huge fan of products where a lot of the value is tied to promo cards, and I think when you look at the PCTBs, I mean, you're only getting a couple more packs compared to a regular ETB. So a lot of that value and premium is in those promo cards. So if those do well, the PCTPs are going to do well. I understand it's an exclusive too. So if people want to collect one of every ETB for their display, I mean, maybe that's going to lead to very large premiums as well. But for me, I actually just sold my Fusion Strike PCTB. I'm listing my Celebrations one as well. I bought that fairly cheap with the intention of moving it, and I'm tempted to sell my Prismatic one after this run up too. Just to have a little bit more money. I'm going to put a lot of money into Ascended bundles and probably more ETBs later this year, depending on what happens. So that's my strategy, but I imagine they're going to be probably pretty solid performers over the next couple of years too. So I don't think you have to move out of those products, even at these levels. I mean, you look at 151, that PCTB is 1,500 bucks, 1,700, whatever it is. I think Prismatic could definitely get to that level in the future. I think it's reasonable. Paldean Fates too. It's really odd to me that those PCTBs were $450 and the regular ETBs were 340, 350. Like they just seem too close together. So my guess is that Paldean Fates, if they haven't already, let me bring them up actually on TCG Player. My guess was that they were going to go on a little bit of a run. Let's see. 463 now. Looks like there's a little bit of a buyout happening. Yeah, 430 to 460. And recent sales pushing 600. So, I mean, maybe you want to sell them at 6 if you can. Keep holding them a little bit longer, but that's a pretty solid run up in a couple days there on those. How is it possible that Rebel Clash and Chilling Reign booster boxes are approximately the same price? I mean, scarcity obviously plays a role, right? Like Rebel Clash was not printed super heavy. So if people want a box, it's more difficult to find for sure. And yeah, I think that's really all it's going to come down to mainly. All it's going to come down to mainly. Colin's in here as well. What's up, man? Put this in on the standing desk. Ascended Heroes cases, pump. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I bought a walking pad and I just need to start using it more. I need to get a standing desk like you too. That's a goated setup. I like the desk I have, and I mean, I can't show you guys right now from the camera, but it's perfect size for me, like perfect height too. So moving to a standing desk, I don't know. It'd be a change that I'm not ready for, but I know that long term it'd probably be a good thing to do. Diamond Digger, thank you for the $5 as well. I'm new to collecting Pokemon cards, and I pulled a double Gold Star Team Rockets Giovanni card from the Destined Rivals pack. Okay, the Giovanni trainer, or is that the SIR? Let's go to Destined Rivals. Let's see. Product type cards. We'll go high to low. I'll be honest, I'm bad with like the star, double star, if that like translates to trainers. Um this one? Is this the double starred one? Yeah, this is the one, right? That's a pretty good pull if this is the card we're talking about here. 40 bucks, not bad. 35, $40. Pretty solid. Are you planning to keep it? Are you going to sell it, trade it off? Jamie asked too. And Diamond, I'll look for your response too if you leave one. You think Ascended Heroes PCTB is an S tier set like 151 or Prismatic? Will it be the legend? I mean, Ascended's a really strong set. I think when you look at the promo, the Snorlax and the Eevee, I would probably rate higher, but they're close. They're really close. Let's see. Good response. Dude, I get comments like that all the time, man. I try not to let them bother me anymore. And honestly, like, you know, there's always like things that you can take away from criticism. Um, but yeah, it's whatever, dude. Like to me, when I read that, I'm at a point now where I just kind of brush it off as like some random Polish dude. But at the same time, if I look at analytics and videos are heavily disliked or there's multiple comments from people saying the same thing, generally for me, that's kind of more of a sign that I should change something or adjust, right? But if it's just one person, I mean, whatever. There's weird people everywhere. Is what it is. Do you consider Lost Origin a strong Sword and Shield era set, or would you sell? Yeah, I think Lost Origin's still legit. It's got to be top 3, right? I mean, it's close now, I guess, with Brilliant, which is so weird to say, but yeah, Lost Origin's good. I have 15, 14 boxes, something like that. Maybe even a little bit more. Let me check, actually. I won't show this on screen, but if you guys are curious, you can watch the next Cardboard Kingpin episode in a couple days. 18 boxes. So I have 3 cases worth. I'm not planning to sell Lost Origin anytime soon. The PokeTuner's in here. Hey, man, how's it going? It's going good. Can't complain. I always tell people, if you're waking up healthy, your family's healthy, you got some food in you, it's a good day, man. That's kind of like my motto for this year. Trying to be less negative if I can. Which again, not perfect, but always got to try. Abraham. Thank you for the super chat, man. This guy sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Real advice: buy Shrouded and Shining Fates. Maybe a little bit of Pogo. Yeah, I mean, Pokemon Go is probably the best investment you could make right now. There's just not a ton of those ETBs out there. And those Mewtwo cards, dude, I think people are sleeping on Pogo. Shining Fates as well. Yeah. I think you should throw in some Stellar Crown and maybe a little bit of Steam Siege, and that would be like a super well diversified portfolio. Thank you, Abraham. Appreciate it, man. Low key though, I think Shrouded Fable has more than doubled the ETB cases. I'm pretty sure Alex was talking about that the other day. So even Pokemon Go, Shrouded Fable, these sets can still boom. Let's see, where were we at? Thoughts on next run up for Sword and Shield? McDonald, yeah. Um, you know, it was interesting talking about these numbers today. I feel like it's just coming, you know, like it has to eventually. Um, I know I like some of the SVR sets. Your 151, your Paldean Fates, Surging Destin. Like there are some strong sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. And I understand the conversation about all of the boxes, like even your Obsidian, your Paldean Fate, or Paldea Evolve, excuse me, Paradox Rift, Temporal, a lot of these being open more compared to Sword and Shield era sets. I understand the fact that something like Fusion Chilling, there's no illustration rare equivalent, so the opening experience is better in some of those sets. But I don't know, it's just it's tough to not see these being like 50% higher minimum by the end of the year. I'm still very bullish on Sword and Shield. I just think like the very high end Scarlet and Violet is going to start outperforming. That's my gut instinct. Could be wrong, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. By the way, my neck is killing me, man. I gotta start stretching. Being 30 sucks, guys. Honestly, I left the 20s behind, and it was just like that. The body starts to break down. So if I'm doing a little self massage, that's what's going on there. Evolving Skies is a top set of all time. Got in when boxes were $400. Perfection. That's awesome. I mean, $400 a box on Evolving. Yeah, you've done well for sure. And what's crazy too, and some people disagree with me about this, I think Evolving even at like 2,500 bucks is probably still going to be like the best performing box of the era over the next couple of years. If not the best, like one of the best. It just seems like when you look at the return since release, it's so far ahead of everything else that even at its current multiple of MSRP, it's fair to assume it's going to keep up with Lost Storage and Fusion, even though those boxes are a lot cheaper than what Evolving currently is. Anthony says, sold my one box of Phantasmal, and the guy opened it and got the Zard SIR and the gold Zard. Now I have FOMO for ripping packs. Wow, man. That is painful. That is painful. Anthony, if it makes you feel better, I opened a Zoro manga, and I know some people don't want to hear about One Piece. I opened the Zoro manga from Wings of the Captain. One box. I bought a collection off a guy. One box of Wings of the Captain. At the time, they were like less than $200 a box. Canadian too. So I opened it, pulled the Zoro manga. It was probably 1,400 Canadian, something like that. I sold it for. The guy sent it off for grading, came back PSA 10, and at peak in January, I think PSA 10 Zoros were going for like 4,500 USD, 5,000 USD in that range. So if it makes you feel any better, that was my experience as well. So it is what it is, man. But at the end of the day, I took that 1,400, did something productive with it. I'm sure you selling that box of Phantasmal, you're doing something productive with it as well. And honestly, the odds of you pulling both of those, it's so insanely low. Like knowing my luck when I sell boxes at this point, I imagine myself just pulling like a full art and a trainer out of everything. So it is what it is. More humble than me. I don't know about that, DJ. You're pretty good on camera, man. You're pretty good. I'm trying to get better though. Trying to get better for sure. Let's see. Yeah, I saw your Fusion and Celebrations PCTBs on the Canadian Facebook buy and sell. Yeah, I thought they were fairly priced too. I was kind of surprised. Like, again, I don't take really good photos when I sell in the buy and sell groups. But I was kind of surprised at how little interest I got. Maybe they were priced too high. But I threw them on eBay and a lot more interest. So the one sold. I think the Celebrations one will probably move soon anyways. Time to invest in top 70th anniversary booster box. I actually don't know what this is. Is that like this year? Like Topps just as a company? Camia, I don't know what you're talking about. Like leave a new comment and educate me if this is like a new product or something. ETBs are bundle displays of SV specialty sets. Ooh, good question, RW. I'd say a little bit of everything. I think it's good to diversify there. Like, I wouldn't go all in on either. Now, I have gone pretty much all in on ETBs for Prismatic. My goal with Ascended is to kind of balance that out a little bit. Now, I guess we could talk about this. It's a good segue. If you guys watched Alex and Eli's live yesterday talking about the bundle cases or whatever being like the 25 counts in North America, I had heard from my contact in Singapore they're getting the bundle displays. And I asked him after that live again if he was like basically certain that they were getting the booster bundle displays. He told me today he is certain, like, when they did the orders at distro, it was for the 60 counts. And the master cases of the bundle displays, like, you have 10 bundles in a display and then 6 displays in a master case. That's apparently what their distro orders were for. So unless something changes, it seems like they're going to get the bundle displays. But again, like, not guaranteed, something could change. And I've heard in comments that people in Europe could pre-order the bundle displays. So I don't know if anything's confirmed yet. But if there are bundle displays that come out end of April, I'm going to try and get bundle displays for Ascended Heroes. I think it'll be a good product. And when you look at the premiums right now on the Prismatic display, because we didn't get those in North America, I don't know exactly what the, let me look it up actually, the Black Bolt booster bundle display, what that premium is, because I think the loose bundles are $60-$70. Yeah, $64. Bundle display is $910. So there's already a premium on those too. I think if we get the displays for Ascended and out the gate, they're similar prices to the loose bundles, probably worth trying to pick some up. So that's kind of my goal. But I think either way, like, they're both great products. They're really good products. And my one of the guys in my private group, he did a lot of work on like ETBs versus loose bundles, just looking at the CAGR, and ETBs outperformed loose bundles basically across the board. So the displays, I think, are a little bit of a different story. But if it's a decision between loose bundles and ETBs, I would go with ETBs if you have the space. Top Hat says, "Hey guys, new here." Top Hat, thank you for stopping by, man. Appreciate you. Digger says yes, and now I forget exactly what the comment was in regards to. Oh, okay, your card. Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. That's awesome, man. That's a cool pull. Definitely a cool pull. Nice card, FOMO. Yeah, I agree. It's that like Destined has so many really cool illustration rares. Let's see. Go to this page. I really like, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I really like the Ethan's Adventure. I love this card. Yeah, Pichu and what's the name? Cyndaquil? Cool Lava. I can't remember exactly which one. It's bad, but very cutesy looking Pokemon. I think it's a good card. What else is in there? Misty Psyduck. I mean, everyone loves that one. Ethan's Typhlosion. That's dropped a lot. 25, 26 bucks now. Wow. Interesting. And the Meowth, of course. I mean, this is a really cool card. Like that one as well. Top Hat, you really like Ascended. Are you going to invest in it? Are you going to buy some ETBs or bundles? I like Ascended too. I think it's so good. The God Pack as well. The fact that it has illustration rares, that's going to be something where it's gonna put in the conversation with Prismatic. I think top hits, maybe you still make an argument Prismatic's better with all the evolutions, but a lot of those IRs are gonna add up, and it's gonna make the opening experience for people, I think, a little bit better too. We'll see. Like, it's tough to tell with Prismatic because that set was printed so heavily that those single cards have been hit very hard. So I think people now, like, if you're just looking at Ascended out the gate, looking at card prices and comparing that to Prismatic, it's kind of a skewed view, kind of a warped view, in my opinion. But we'll see. They're both very good. You should have positions in both. What do you think is the future of Paldean Fate's PCTBs? We just looked at those, Tub. They were up to, like, recent sales were what, $600 580, $600 in that range. It's a big move from like the 450 range a couple weeks ago. I have no clue though. Genuinely no clue. They performed really well. They'll probably continue performing well. So it's a good set too. Like when you look at things and you try and optimize, maybe there's an argument to be made to move them, but I think it's also really silly to do that because it's just such a good product. I think it's worth holding on to. If you really believe in PCTBs, unlike me, I'm kind of a doubter, but if you believe in PCTBs, you're bullish in them, it's probably worth just holding on to them. Don't overthink it. Numb to it for sure, says FOMO. Yeah, I wouldn't say fully numb. There are definitely comments that can get to you. Um, and when I say get to you, I mean to me sometimes. Like there'll be days I just don't even want to respond to comments. And honestly, a lot of people I've talked to who have channels, like they don't even read comments anymore. And I'm getting to the point where I might start doing that. And it's not because I don't want to interact with people. Like that's why I'm doing the live streams, but people will leave really stupid stuff sometimes. Or, the worst for me, I'll make a video like outlining step by step my reasoning for something. And then somebody in the comments will just say the complete opposite, right? And be like, you said this instead of that. And it's like, no, I didn't. But, a lot of people watch videos and they're on their phone and they're not listening to what you actually say. So stuff like that bugs me. And that's why I'm trying to not let it get to me, but it is what it is. I'll probably keep it. I've been told to keep it so it will go up in price. Diamond, I'm not necessarily agreeing with that though. Like the thing is Destin could get reprinted a lot over the next couple of years. And generally with reprints, there's more supply of cards out there. It's also, even though it's a great hit, I love the card. I think as an investment, it's probably not the best investment. But if you like the card, you want it for your collection, maybe it was like the first big hit you ever pulled. Those are all reasons to hold on to it, right? And keep in your collection. But in terms of an investment, I'm dubious as to how well it will do. Eduardo, what's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. From Mexico, shout out Mexico. Do you think, I believe MX would be Mexico, right? Mexican pesos. Do you think Fusion Strike is still a good buy? Yeah, I think it's still a decent buy for sure. Like I am not buying any more Fusion because I think there's better buys out there, but I think Fusion is still a good buy. And you're kind of hedging against potential reprints or the printing facility affecting a lot of the newer sets like Ascended, Destined. We're not getting more Fusion. So it's still a very good buy, in my opinion. Don't know if it'll be the best, but I don't hate people if they're buying Fusion at the moment. And like I said, it just seems, and again, I'm operating on vibes when I say this, it just seems like the Sword and Shield era pump is coming. It really does. So we will see. We will see. Dislodge says, I love that OG Zard UPC. It's such a rad box to open. Yeah, it's a cool box for sure. Cool box. Great to hear. Yeah, man. Any day I'm healthy. Any day I'm healthy, family's healthy. It's a blessing for sure. FOMO says Rebel Trash is old and dusty. I would agree with you. Rebel Trash is something I will never own. I don't think so. Like, unless I'm buying out a collection and there's Rebel Clash in there, I will never pick up Rebel Clash. Same thing, and this will be a hot take to some, Obsidian Flames. You will never see me owning Obsidian Flames unless I'm doing it in a collection buyout with the intention to flip it in the short term. I like what I'm Yeah, I mean, go all in, right? Maybe throw in some Obsidian in there too. Shrouded Fable, Pogo, Shining Fates, Obsidian, Steam Siege. What was the last one I said? That's a goated lineup. Very, very goated. In all honesty, the Pogo Mewtwo might be the best Mewtwo ever. I do like that card a lot. I really do. So I actually don't hate that take. Sword and Shield getting left in the dust SV is just better. Yeah, I think when you look at when you compare the eras, I think that's fine for sure. I don't hate that take. But, the best sets in Sword and Shield are up there for sure. We've just been so blessed with the SV era in terms of specialty sets. Like in terms of booster boxes, looking at them now a couple years after release for a lot of those sets, and again, you can say whatever you want about SV base being the best base set ever. Comparing SV base to like Fusion evolving, it's underwhelming. Paldea evolves good. Obsidian's underwhelming, in my opinion. Paradox, not bad. Like you have some decent SIRs, but the value you can get out of the box, underwhelming. Temporal, same deal, even though there's good illustrations. So the story of SV era, great cards, just not a ton that are super valuable. And I do worry about how that affects a lot of those booster boxes in the future. New Jersey here. Awesome, man. AM, thank you for stopping by. Sword and Shield. That's funny. Let's see. Grego, Sword and Shield 039, 25th anniversary General News, Pikachu promo PSA 10 pop report at 2306. Current price $225. Thoughts? I have no thoughts. I don't even know, like, I can't visualize what card that is at all. And I'm not the guy to ask when it comes to singles and slabs. Not me. I invest in sealed product. I've talked about my reasoning for it multiple times on the channel, basically just because they're deflationary assets. And I see a pathway forward because of rip and ships as to why my product will be more expensive in the future. So that's why I invest in sealed product. If you want to try and pick and choose on certain cards and slabs, go ahead, but not something I have any thoughts on that I'll ever give you advice on. You probably know better than I do. And again, Quaza, appreciate you being here. Appreciate the question, but it'll be similar. Thoughts on the Pikachu 160, 159 in Crown Zenith. Only secret rare in the set, and it's a textured card. Card looks crazy and would be 500 plus. Wow, that's a hot take. If it would be in Ascended Heroes, but it's $38. Would like to know your input. Again, like I don't have any really strong feelings about cards and in certain sets and slabs and stuff like that. I'll say I like a lot of the cards in Crown Zenith. Like it is a beautiful set. That's why I invest in the sealed product, because a lot of Crown Zenith was open last year. I mean, you can talk to Alex, you can talk to Dan, anyone who runs a rip and ship. A lot of that was being opened, and that's why I hold the product. But in terms of any individual card and where I think they're going in the future, I'm not the guy to ask. And I'm not saying that these cards can't move up. I'm saying I'm not the knowledgeable person to talk to about that. Domio asks, do you manually add the numbers to your Excel sheet by going through each product one by one? Yeah, so the issue with eBay, and this is why nobody else does it, you can't really build a scraper to go through eBay, unfortunately. It's something I looked into doing, and it's just not really feasible, at least for what I'm looking at. Maybe you could do it for like the sales volume, like the active listings are something very difficult to scrape. Um, the sold items, I think it'd be easier to do, but yeah, most of it's done manually. And obviously, there's double checks, right? Like there's things in place to make sure the numbers are accurate. There will be certain numbers, certain listings that fall through the cracks, just because if something's not titled correctly, even using my search words, and I use like different ones to make sure I'm capturing everything, there's still going to be the odd listings that don't get tracked here. But for the most part, everything's done incredibly consistently and thoroughly. And I think the numbers are fairly accurate. And this is also Google Sheets, by the way, not Excel. If anyone's curious, I mean, I know it doesn't make a big difference, but if people are interested in looking at the data, it's done through Google Sheets, and that's kind of how I get people access. That's the reason why I chose to do that instead of Excel. Something interesting too about the spreadsheet, I've been working with Austin in the mentorship group. We're working on a way to turn this into a web page, and then who knows, like maybe down the line it'll be an app. But really interesting stuff coming. I'll talk about it in a future live stream with Austin, but I'm very hopeful that the raw data that I've been putting out can be turned into a useful tool for people to kind of figure out where to put their money. So news on that will hopefully be coming a month from now in that range. There's developments in the works right now, we'll say. Data says, preach on body aches after 30. My girl making me go to Pilates would actually, dude, Pilates, yoga, like stretching in general is goated for sure. Like it's something where some people look at it and say it's not masculine. You know, who cares, right? I feel great after stretching. So yeah, definitely on board with that for sure. iBot says started 6 months ago and I'm 200% up. GG Pokemon. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I'd be curious to know what you're invested in. Um, I can't imagine a lot of it's sealed products. You're probably in singles and slabs, maybe some vintage, but could be wrong. I'm just trying to think like in 6 months, what's up 200% sealed. So yeah, it's probably singles, but correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I'll look for it. When will 151 slow down? Great question, Lauren. Um, my guess would be soon, if it hasn't already. I guess we could bring up 151. Let's see. 151. Share the screen. We'll bring up a couple products here. Do the booster bundles first. Shockingly, it seems like they're still edging higher towards $184. Crazy. Wow. 190's recent sales. 199.90, almost $200. It has to be soon, right? Surely, especially with a lot of the cards, like the Charizard Blastoise coming down in price, you'd think it would be soon. But the packs, we're up to almost $26 now. Wow. Unbelievable. Look at this 1-year chart. By the way, guys, for people who aren't sold on Prismatic still, even at this point, $9.66 a pack last May for 151. Prismatic, I think, is $11 currently. So you just have to think Prismatic's going to follow a similar trend. Not saying it's going to be better than 151, not saying it's going to be worse, but you have to think it's going to be a similar trend eventually. But I think short term it's going to slow down a little bit. FOMO, are you not a fan of One Piece? You're not in it? Did they find it? I don't know. I think they're still looking. I will say though, I've almost finished the anime. Episode, I think 1149. So like 5 or 6 episodes more to go. The animation of the past or the last 30 episodes is unbelievable. Like it is S tier, so goated. The story in general too is unbelievable. Dislodge says, I sold an Evolving Skies ETB in 2024. Last non-acrylic box I had left. I hadn't opened yet. Guy opened it and pulled the Moonbreon and graded 10. No. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. That is the price we pay for investing in sealed product. Abraham says, well, I had a Phantom Forces box sold at 3K, then 3 months later it went to 12. Yep. That happened to a few people. Unlucky. It is what it is. Abraham, what did you buy the box though for? I'm curious. AM also asks, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Can I take my sealed cards in the shower with me? You can do whatever you want, right? There's this beautiful thing called free will. It's great. Some people use it for the betterment of their lives and others. Some people use it for the opposite of that. But you can indeed take your sealed cards into the shower with you if you want. I would not advise doing so, but if you do, let me know how it works out for you. Oh, man. We're memeing hard today. I don't know if that's a bullish thing or a bearish thing. I'm actually kind of concerned. Anthony also says, I put the Phantasmal Profits towards Ascended Heroes ETBK. Yeah. I mean, that's great. Like, it's crazy too. These ETBs are up to around $117 again right now. like we didn't drop below $100. And I think wave 2 is done, right? I'm pretty sure at this point, as far as I understand. It will be interesting to see this year though what happens. Like I've said multiple times, I feel like Ascended's probably going to get the prismatic treatment. And I've had people say that's irrational, right? Like it doesn't make sense because Pokemon said they were going to wage war on Prismatic and print into the ground max capacity, blah, blah, blah. They haven't said that with Ascended. 30th anniversary, I'm sure they're doing a lot with that. So maybe it doesn't get the prismatic treatment. These run a lot quicker, but it's something where basically any restock, any release of a good product, I'm going to buy. I don't really care what happens. That is the plan with S tier sets moving forward. And it's going to be the same thing. Destin reprints. If we get booster boxes out there, I'll buy a reprint, even if it's $300 a box, 350. I'd probably start buying some. And it's interesting after talking with Dan because there are people that have such different philosophies on things. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but I don't know. It's just interesting how people view different sets. I'll say that. But I do want to start building a Destin position this year. I think it's going to be fine to do that. Wish I did earlier. We have some bundles now, which is great. If we get more bundles, I'll probably buy more of those too. So, yep, S tier sets moving forward, just DCA. That's the plan. Really boring. Sorry, guys, if that's not interesting. A Disney 70th anniversary box. Interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, yeah, definitely can't give you any advice there. Sorry. We got another super chat in too from Zuko. Thank you, man. Zuko, by the way, you don't have to super chat, but I appreciate you being here every stream. It helped out a ton, especially early on. Like the first few streams we did, sometimes the chat was slow. So, having people in there, I do appreciate it, man. Killing it with the live streams, brother. Thank you. I do appreciate that too. Pokey Profit and Obsidian Flames to the. Okay, dude. Obsidian Flames. Ugh. I'll let it pass this one time, Zuko, just because I like you. But yeah, the live streams have gone incredibly well. My goal with doing the lives is not to give people like the most softball questions. Like I feel like I pushed Dan a little bit on things, which is fine. But everyone I'm bringing on, like it's from a position of love and interest. Like I'm not trying to gotcha on anybody, but I think it's important too to just test our theses, and try and improve all the time. So I like having guests on. I love learning from people. At the same time, I think it's great to have interesting debates almost, or conversations at least. So yeah, they're going great. Hopefully we can have even more guests coming on in the coming months. There's a couple people I'm talking to that I'd like to have on. And yeah, fun times. It is really fun times. Billy asks, what would you rather buy? Currently, Facebook Marketplace, I can get a case of Ascended ETBs for $1,075. Wow. Or 3 PCTBs at $330 each. Again, understand that my answer to this is coming from a position of bias. I'm not as bullish on the PCTBs. So I've just been buying the regular ETBs, which $1,075 for a sealed case is pretty cheap compared to what most people are paying right now. At the same time, I'll try and make a bullish case for the PCTBs. Ascended Heroes is a very strong set. It has a legit promo card. Paldean Fates PCTBs are now $600. Paldean Evolved is what, $550, $600. Prismatic is $600 for a PCTB, maybe even more now. 151's $1,500, $1,700, whatever it is. So all of these S tier sets are much higher than 330. So if you are bullish on PCTBs, I think it's reasonable to assume that the Ascended Heroes ones could reach the level of all those other sets I've listed in the future. So either way, I don't hate it. But for me, I've been buying the regular ETBs. And honestly, part of it too, I store a lot of my booster boxes now in a different location. A lot of my smaller, more expensive stuff. Everything you see behind me is fairly bulky. And I feel like part of the strategy now for me is just buy really bulky items. So, in the event someone did unfortunately break into my office and take some of my stuff, it would be very time consuming for them to move everything, which again, probably a ridiculous strategy, but it makes sense in my head, at least a little bit. Did you see what Anon said about you after your live the other day? No, I didn't. What did he say, Rhino? I'm curious to hear what he said. I don't know. Well, I saw him make a comment about a live stream and people kind of mocking him, but I thought he was referring to like Eli and Alex. I'm pretty sure that live stream. Maybe he was referring to mine, but yeah, I don't really care what he says, to be honest. Like I like Anon kind of to an extent. Like, he's obviously really smart and he's done things well. Um, like I've given him props for the surging move. Now that worked out really well for him. And, people are kind of bashing him for his take on Destined at this point, but it worked out once for him. So we'll see if it works out again. But yeah, like, if someone's anonymous, man, and they're saying things about me, it's whatever, I guess. Like, it is what it is. I've done both. Sold a Celebrations ETB and the person pulled the Zard, and sold a Rip Stellar BB and they pulled the Trap Ghost and Squirtle. It happens to the best of us, man. It is what it is. Can't avoid it. Does anyone know if Ascended Heroes will come with a boost or a bundle display case? I was talking about this earlier. And the reason I brought this up, let me get some water first before I talk about this again. The reason I wanted to talk about this today, Alex and Eli, when they did their stream on Monday, apparently like distros in North America are getting the 25 counts. I had been told by my guy in Singapore that they were getting the bundle displays. And after they said they were only getting the cases, I messaged him again and asked. He said that he's pretty sure that they're getting the bundle displays of 10 because when he did his distro orders in Singapore, it was for like the 60s. And that's because the loose bundles, 10 of them in a display, 6 displays in a master case. So assuming that's still going forward, there's probably going to be bundle displays in Asia. And I've heard other people in comments say Europe as well. You could pre-order them. Again, nothing that I've been able to confirm, but we will see over the next month because I think they're coming late April. But I did say if there are bundle displays, I'm definitely hoping that I can get a master case off my guy in Singapore. So that's the goal. We'll see what happens. And by the way, we touched on the Prismatic bundle displays. Those have a massive premium over the loose bundles right now. Black Bolt, even those bundles are $63, $64. The bundle displays, TCG Player says it's $910. So huge premiums again, even on those. I think it would be something similar with Ascended if we don't get those in North America, but other parts of the world get them. So something interesting to think about, but again, nothing confirmed, even though my guy feels very confident that they're getting them from distro. But again, until I actually see them in person or see photos, at least it's something that I can't fully guarantee. Rich says, but then I ripped a Prismatic ETB and pulled the SIR Espeon. There you go. I pulled an Espeon as well, SIR from an ETB. And I'll be honest, guys, people are going to hate me for saying this too. And I understand it's a Pokemon stream. It's weird. Like there's no One Piece people in here now, which is, when we did the first few streams, there was a lot of One Piece talk. I still enjoy opening One Piece a lot more than Pokemon. Like pulling an SIR in Pokemon, even the Espeon, which for me, that was my favorite looking of all the evolutions. It just doesn't hit the same. When you pull a manga and you see like the texture on it or even the SPs, like that's a big deal. So I don't know. I feel like Pokemon, there's so much room for improvement if they wanted to take their cards to the next level. But I understand if you're printing 12, 15 billion cards, whatever it's going to be a year, it's probably unreasonable to assume that they can keep up with Bandai printing only, I don't know, would they even be printing a billion cards for One Piece? Probably not. So, yeah. Digging the lives lately, keep it up. Thank you, Dark Spot Trading. Appreciate you, man. I always see you in the comments too, so thank you for always stopping by. It means a lot. I have one pre-ordered, but no idea if it comes. I'm UK based. Yeah, that was the thing. So I had people telling me in Europe that they could get the bundle displays on pre-order. So if people are pre-ordering in Europe and I have a guy in Asia telling me that, and for Black Bolt, White Flare, those were the regions that got the displays, it seems like there's a fairly high level of probability we're going to get them again in those parts of the world. And by the way, like this is where things get interesting too now. Like I think for so long people have ignored other regions, myself included. It was really only until I got into One Piece and the 4 Asia boxes were incredibly cheap in Singapore that it made sense to do some level of arbitrage. But for a lot of people who are North American based, out the gate, if these bundle displays are basically equivalent to the price of loose bundles in North America, it would make sense in my mind to pay essentially the same price, get it shipped over to you, and just have the bundle displays, because we're seeing the Prismatic one selling for $1,500 and then the Black Bolt one selling $900, $1,000. So yeah, that's my strategy with Ascended. And by the way, like anyone can find a contact and get those. Like it's not like it's something that's gate kept. Like I have my guy that I trust. He's great to do business with. Shout out Ian. Like Ian will literally send me something without me paying, like an $8,000-$9,000 case. He'll just send it off to me. And then he's like, yeah, just pay me, pay me when it comes. Right. So guy's an absolute goat. And that's why like this year, with the mentorship program, it's just opened my eyes how important it is to have contacts that you trust in the hobby. So yeah, if you guys are new, I definitely recommend networking. It's one of the best things you can probably do. Super high EV there. Slugma the goat too, from Johnson's. Yeah, that's in the Ethan's adventure card. That is a very cool Pokemon as well. I agree. Was asleep when Pete restocked cases last night. Interesting. What were the I'm assuming it's Ascended Heroes ETB cases. What was the price on those when he did the restock? Custom says, after I sold my fossil box, I started to reinvest into XY Evo booster boxes, celebrations, ETBs, Paldean Fates. Assuming Paldean Fates bundle displays, and the top 4 Sword and Shield. That's, yeah. Those are good products to be in. Less bullish on Evo, XY Evolutions, but celebrations, it's done very well over the past 12 months. Paldean Fates, same deal. And then Sword and Shield, man. Yeah, the top sets in Sword and Shield, it feels like that pump is coming. Again, it's all vibes, guys. It's all vibes, but hopefully we'll see it this year. FOMO says, for context, my business revolves on grading raw singles and flipping them to rip and shippers. Okay. So when I see sealed products selling 3 per day, it seems low versus singles that sell on average. Yeah, I agree, right? But first of all, I'm curious like how expensive your singles are. Because you could look at, I mean, even let me bring it up for you guys. I'll show you the ETB data as well. Just give me a second here. Let's go to Sphera ETBs. I'll show you guys the most recent updates for the Sphera ETBs. It's going to be small, but hopefully you can see this. So buy it now sales on eBay for ETBs. Doesn't include auctions. It's North America, so no Europe, no South America, Asia, whatever. Black Bolts, the most recent update, I did this March 13th. 32 ETBs selling per day. Buy it now, right? White Flare, 26. Prismatic Evolutions, even at almost $200 in ETB, nearly 20 ETBs selling by it now per day. So even though these are probably more expensive than some of the singles you sell, I would guess they're selling at, 20, 30 per day, right? So it depends on the product a lot. Um, Booster boxes, I would say too. The Sword and Shield era stuff does not sell as well as SV era. So Surging Sparks, for example, that's granted a bit cheaper. It's $250, $260. Those are selling like 25 to 30 per day. So it depends on the product, depends on the era, depends on the price. But sealed product can sell, even older sealed products, like not new releases, like even older stuff can still sell at a decent pace. DC's in here too. Good afternoon, Grayson and friends. Had to hop on the stream for a bit. Thank you for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. This will be a good hydration break here too. Shout out DC one time. What do you think about Evolving Skies regular ETBs? I don't know, DC. What do you think? What do you think about Evolving Skies ETBs? I feel like you've talked to me about these before. Look, I'll say any Evolving Skies product is probably a good hold at this point. Like even loose packs. I think I still have some loose and sleeved packs, or maybe just sleeved, but the ETBs in general are interesting. I don't know. You don't have a promo. It's tough to tell in the future how those are going to perform, even compared to the booster box. If you want a sealed Evolving Skies item and you don't have enough for a booster box, I think the ETB is probably the best alternative. I prefer them a lot more than like a build and battle kit or a build and battle stadium, even a sleep pack. Those can be tampered with, I think, a little bit easier compared to an ETB. So I don't hate them, but I think if you have the money, my guess would be the booster boxes are probably still the better play. But we'll see. Like I think it's close just because of the price difference. I would still go with the booster boxes. Let's see. Cody's in here as well. Shout out Cody one time. Always the wave. Always the wave. Never more, never less. The vintage guy asks, wait, why for Obsidian Flames? I am the number one Obsidian Flames hater in the world. The number one. My hate stems from the fact that it annoys the hell out of me that when both of these were like $80, $90, I went all in on Paldea Evolved, right? When Paldea and Obsidian were basically the same price, I chose to go all in on Paldea because to me, way better sets, right? So if they're the same price, and generally speaking, if you have two sets, it's the same product. For example, if we're comparing booster boxes, same era, probably, right? Like they were. It was the perfect example. Being the same price, pick the better set. And I've had people so often last year tell me, Obsidian Flames, look at the run up it's had. You were wrong. I wasn't wrong. If you look at the return on Paldea Evolved compared to Obsidian, Paldea has outperformed Obsidian, right? I mean, that's evident by the fact that Paldea currently is $450, Obsidian's $350, right? And they've both been great returns. Like nobody's disputing that. But the general thesis was that Paldea was a better set and it's done better. So you should have put your money there. And again, like it doesn't matter that much at the end of the day. It's just the fact that I got that comment so many times. It annoyed me to the point that I became the number one Obsidian Flames hater. But I think that Charizard now is like $100 again. It's kind of on the move. So if you're in Obsidian, it hasn't been a bad play. It probably won't be a bad play moving forward either. Crimson Invasion actually isn't bad value. Isn't a bad value prop right now. Yeah, I haven't. Let me see. Go Sun and Moon era. I'm curious. Actually, I might have these backwards now. No, that's week one. Do. Sorry, guys. This is the one downside to the spreadsheet sometimes. Crimson, yeah, $550 was lowest list. And I did this in February. Next update's coming soon. Yeah, $550 for a Sun and Moon era box. It is fairly cheap, but again, compared to everything else in the era, it's a bad set. So you're you're going into it investing in something that's like a C or D tier set. C, I think, would be putting it quite politely. So yeah, you're basically banking on the fact that it's just so cheap. It's gonna outperform other things, which I'm not sure I can fully get on board with that. But yeah, it is very cheap compared to the rest of the era. So could be an interesting play for sure. Um, will do, man. I'm trying to figure out who is the good go-to PokeTuber so far. I watch Rudy, Oz, Chuck, and Prophet. But I would say I would really watch Dan from Catch 'em All Collectibles. Just did a live with him. It depends what you want to get out of watching YouTube, I would say. So everyone you've listed, big fans of everyone you've listed, by the way. Of course, myself, big fan of myself too. It's we're all normally, I mean, with the exception of Rudy, we're all just covering the market for the most part. I mean, I try and look at like the sales data, and that's kind of how I try and separate myself from a lot of people because everyone just brings up TCG player graphs and they go, look, graph go up. I at least try and, put my spin on it, which sometimes I don't do, but I'm trying for the most part to talk about the data that people don't talk about on the eBay side of things. If you just want market updates and you want to see what's going on, I think anyone you've listed is great. And there's tons of people you didn't list that are also great. I think Dan, as someone who does a business that's almost 8 figures a year, you can learn a lot from Dan. Same thing with Alex. Like Alex's business is growing. He's doing great. So, Nostalgianomics as well, throw in there. I like watching Retro's videos. He has a really interesting take on things too. Like his videos aren't always about the market and what's going on, but a lot of it's more like philosophical and, the ideas behind how to grow a business, which if you're into that content, I think it's S tier for sure. So there's so many good people. Like just watch everyone. Even if it's a new channel you've never watched before, just, tune into one video, see if you like it, and then go from there. Pokey and E as well, like Brian. I know Brian's not making a lot of content right now, but his business stuff is S tier too. So, and again, I'm probably missing people. So apologies if I miss you. There's something you can learn from everyone. Eduardo, thank you for the super chat, man. The second one. Show out Mexico again. I believe it's from Mexico. Opinions on switching my OPO 5 case for Ascended Heroes 30th. Ooh, spicy. Mm, that's tough. It's tough because look, I don't know like how invested you are into One Piece, so it's difficult for me to look at just the one product, right, without knowing the context of everything going on in your portfolio. I will say One Piece, a lot of the boxes are starting to tick back up slowly. OPO 5 is going to be a timeless set, 100%. It also depends on when you bought it and how much you're up. If it's something where you bought it 8K on the way up and now it's 9 or 10K, probably worth holding. But if you bought it for 2 grand and it's now $10,000, might be worth it at that point to take profits and have more funds available for Ascended Heroes and 30th later this year and anything else you see fit. So I think it depends on Eduardo, and I can't answer that without knowing exactly what's going on in your life. But hopefully, those kind of two scenarios you can relate more with one or the other, and that can potentially lead you down a path. But wow, OPO5 is such a good set, guys. Such a good set. It would pain me to let that go because it's such a cool item, but at the same time, I understand it's run up a lot. So maybe there's better places. Dan the Rager, thank you for the super chat as well. Thoughts on Phantasmal ETBs? Booster boxes are reaching highs. So generally for mainline sets, and mainline to me is anything that has a booster box. So your Mega Evolution, your Phantasmal, your Perfect Order, obviously SV base, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian, etc. Generally, the booster boxes are going to outperform the ETBs in the long run. I don't know. Let me bring them up actually. Let's see. Let's see. Phantasmal Flames. So the ETB, $100. The booster box is only $350. Wow. Okay, let's see. The promo is oh, is that Charcadet? I think, right? These seem expensive compared to the booster box. So you're getting 9 packs. I believe that, right? Yeah, 5, 4, 9 packs for about $100, let's call it. Whereas with a booster box, you're getting 36 packs for $350. So it's actually cheaper right now to buy 36 packs from a booster box compared to an ETB if we're basing it off of TCG player price. So I would say in this case, it's a no-brainer if you had to pick between the two to go with the booster boxes. I understand they're expensive, and that's kind of why, to me, it's not a product that I'm jumping into at all right now. Like I bought a couple booster bundles, a little bit above MSRP, the new MSRP in Canada, because Walmart's are, unfortunately more expensive now. But I don't like either of them, to be honest. But gun to my head, I would go with the booster box just based on current prices. Now, if you can get Phantasmal ETBs for MSRP at a Walmart or something, they're $55, then sure, like maybe at that point it makes sense to grab a couple. But I think generally you want to stay away from ETBs for mainline sets. Stick with the booster boxes. I think booster bundles are fine too if there's a massive price discrepancy, but yeah, not a huge fan. I lost track of where I was. Sorry, guys. Kelling Frenzy. I have 2 rivals booster boxes. I'm assuming Destin rivals, but I want a larger position in Prismatic Black Bolt. Thoughts on trading, selling at current market prices and rebuying DR later if there's a dip. I would probably just hold the Destins. I mean, depends on who you talk to. Anon's in favor of moving Destined, I think, right now. So again, it depends on who you talk to, but generally the idea of selling something with the hopes of buying it back cheaper in the future hasn't worked out well, at least over the past couple of years in this hobby. And also too, it's just such a good set. Like, would I want to sell Destin to buy Black Bolt? Probably not. Would I want to sell Destin to buy Prismatic? It's tough. Like, maybe if you're selling Destin booster boxes right now and then you're moving into bundles, Prismatic bundles. But again, like you have to factor in fees, like when you're buying and selling. If it makes sense, like I'll put it this way. If I could sell a Destin Rivals booster box right now for full market value, and then I could move that into Prismatic bundles, seems enticing. It does seem enticing. So there's that. But to move into Black Bolt, I probably wouldn't do that, even though I'm bullish on Black Bolt. I don't know. You could go either way with it, I think. But I feel like I'm at the point now, too. If I'm on the fence about something, I just don't do it because time, laziness, whatever you want to call it, right? It's something you have to factor in. JB Pro says, "How do you see surging doing in the future?" I like surging. I do. I could definitely see that being a $500 box down the line, if not higher. I think it's up there with Paldea Evolved, and I mean, it's not as good as Destined. It's up there with Paldea, Twilight. Those are 350 to 450 boxes right now. There's still surging hitting vending machines, so it might be later this year before we start seeing it run, but I think eventually it's going to move. And this is something I've talked about multiple times. The sales volume on surging is, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a booster box moving better than surging right now on eBay. When I look at sales volume, like even the brand new stuff like Phantasmal Flames, Mega Evolution, there is more surging moving than those. So yeah, there's a lot of demand for surging at this point. A lot of demand, and once that supply starts to dry up, we're going to be cooking with gas. So I'm a big fan of surging. Max says, question, is it worth to buy PCTVs like Prismatic with little tear if the price difference is about 150 euros? I don't know, man. I genuinely don't. Sorry, like, and I'm not trying to disregard your question. It's just like when I try and answer questions, I want to be really confident in what I say. You know, this is something where like now these are what? I know that's euro. Is that euros or pound? No, euros, right? So what would these be in euros? 500 euros now after the run up of Prismatic. So if you're paying 350, like that's 70% of market. Could you sell it for 80? Probably. So to me, like if you have a way to offload it, like that seems like a fairly large price discrepancy between that and a minty one. I think it depends on how big the tear is, but I think ultimately the big question is, could you move it at more than that? Like that's the thing that you have to answer for yourself. Because if you can buy something for less, sell it for more, if you factor in your time and it still makes sense, then sure, it would be worth doing. So again, questions that I can't really answer because it depends on your situation. Cello says Obsidian Flames ETBs have been a great hold. Yes, so the Obsidian ETBs for sure, like those compared to the booster boxes, it's a different story. That Charmander promo is amazing. Like actually an S tier promo. So those were probably undervalued for a very long period of time just because people like myself looked at the set and went, meh, not really that exciting. But the ETB having that promo, that's played out very well for people. The PC version too. Those were one of the better performing PCTBs. Might have actually been the best performing one last year. I think he was up there with 151 and I mean Paldea Evolved did pretty well, but I think Obsidian did better. You found some very good YouTubers so far. Yeah. Like all the people you listed, Pokiaz, shout out Michael, Chuck, shout out Chuck as well, Rudy, of course. I feel like everyone getting into the space, you have to watch Rudy's videos, and especially the old ones too. Like go back through and watch every Pokemon video. It's incredibly educational and mind-opening, you know. Dingo says Surging Sparks booster box or Ascended ETB right now. Oof. I would say long term, so like 5-year outlook, probably Ascended. If you have a 12-month outlook, probably Surging booster box. Depends on your timeline. I like both though. I do like both. Bot says Nostalgianomics is decent too. Yeah, shout out Alex. Let's look for the next question. This is an interesting take from Hook. I get the sense that there will soon be a feeling of too many IRs not as special. I think there will be a resurgence and focus on textured cards like alt arts and underappreciated SARs. It's an interesting take for sure. Definitely interesting. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Interesting. And again, like this is, by the way, this is the beauty of investing in Pokemon and other TCGs. There's so many different philosophies. There's so many different ways that you can look at things, so many different products to invest in. If you make a thesis, you like it, stick with it, place your bets, and yeah, we'll see how things play out, right? So if you're into singles, maybe you want to be buying the alt arts now. I will say too, the top alt arts from the Sword and Shield era. Let me go in here and look. I did this update, I think it was yesterday. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, so the Umbreon VMAX was up 7.5% since last update, 28 days ago. The Rayquaza, or excuse me, the Gengar was up 3.5%. Rayquaza was up 4.5%. The Giratina was up a little bit too. So a lot of these Sword and Shield era alt arts are starting to move off their bottoms just a little bit. For Ascended, do you think it's better to invest in the ETB rather than the bundles? So, Eduardo, generally, based on what I've seen, shout out Austin. I don't think he's watching today, but he did Kagger data for ETBs versus bundles. The ETBs outperform bundles basically across the board. There was maybe like a couple exceptions. So I think if you're looking at like a loose ETB versus a loose bundle, go with the ETB, assuming there's no like massive premium on the ETB. Like the the 151 ETB right now compared to a booster bundle, I think at that point, probably safe to assume it's not worth it to go with ETB. Maybe the bundle's better then, but if sets are newly released, if the price per pack is about the same in a bundle versus an ETB, then it's probably worth going with the ETB. But I think the bundle displays, I touched on this a couple times already. I want to get my hands on some of those if there are bundle displays for Ascended Heroes. Richard says, love your stuff. Ignore the noise. Picking up all the Charizard UPCs at the moment in Sydney for around 240 Australian, 170 USD. I think it's the best value for money right now, investment wise. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Those are a good shout too. 170. Like I think I have 6 now of the Charizard UPCs. You can actually see them behind me, kind of stacked up there. They're not my favorite investment. You guys know when I buy a UPC, I would much prefer for it to be from a specialty set where it's all the same set inside. When you have a hodgepodge and some of its journey together, it's a little bit less exciting for me, but those are good value at 170 for sure. Like the regular Charizard UPCs, what? The Sword and Shield ones, $500 now. Will these be 350, $400 in the future? Probably. And you do have Destin, Phantasmal. You have good sets. The promo cards, Shinji Kanda promo, the Charizard's $40 now, I think. And then the Orcorio's 10's like $50 there just in the promos. Like, yeah, they're a good buy for sure. DC says, question, what would it take for you to lose faith in Pokemon to the point you felt like you had to sell your positions completely? What would it take? Wow. Hmm. To lose faith in Pokemon. That's a good question. It's a really good question. I've thought about this before from a position of like the overall economy and, public perception. What would it take? And I think even if TCGs got incredibly unpopular again, I would probably still hold everything. Like I think I'm at the point now where, you know, I don't need the money. Like, I'm super grateful I don't need the money anymore. Um, so it would pain me, right, to see everything go down, let's say 50, 60, 70% worst case, and then be like, okay, I'm just gonna dump it. To me, it wouldn't make sense to do that. I think if Pokemon got to a point where they got everything down to MSRP and then they just kept printing and things were like 20, if we got back to like 20, $30 in ETB, even that though wouldn't like, it's weird because like Lost Origin and Silver, when those were 20, $30 in ETB, I was still investing heavy in Pokemon. So I don't even know if they did crazy print runs again and things got ridiculous like that, if that would even get me to completely lose faith. It's tough to tell. It's a really good question. I should think about that a bit. Hmm. Yeah, I'll think about it because I don't want to sit here for 5 minutes pondering. That would be kind of boring. But it's a good question. Pokemon's just done such a good job over the past 30 years. Like they have done honestly probably everything right. Like I'm sure they've made mistakes, but overall, like they're getting an A+ for their performance. So it's uh it's very tough to see a world where that just completely flips, right? And especially quickly too. PTCG Radio for news. Yeah, he's great as well. For One Piece news on his Wasi Plays channel. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely recommend checking him out. Uh, Perfect Order to the Moon. Don't think I can get on board with that, but if you're invested, I wish you all the best. Hopefully it works out for you. Soft ceiling seems 200 for the bundles. Yeah, I would agree, Abraham. It kind of seems like just in general, the bundles, not even just the 151 bundles, like where I think Crown Zenith is 170-ish right now. Lost Origins probably less than that. So is there a bundle over 200 yet? Probably not. I don't think so. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, not trying to imply that there's going to be a ceiling on bundles because there's no ceiling on loose packs, right? Like there are loose packs that are 500, $1,000. So if you have 6 of those in a box, right? It's probably just going to follow the loose packs and then some level of premium because it's sealed. This is a good comment. We should take this. Man, I wish I bought all the 151 I ever saw in stores 3 years ago. Might be the biggest mistake of my life. There you guys go. A lot of people regret not buying more. And JB, I'm in the same boat, man. Back then I was one of those people. I looked at the ETBs. I thought for sure we're going to get a reprint eventually. We didn't. Those ETBs are now $600, right? And the UPCs have absolutely run. PCTBs, just anything 151. So I'm grateful I got a lot of bundles at MSRP late 2024, early 2025. But, you know, knowing what I could have had at this point, I agree. It's definitely one of my biggest investment mistakes for sure. Uh, Miral asks, hopefully I'm saying that right. Miral. You think Ascended Premium Poster with 10 packs plus the full art promo going to do better than the bundle? It could potentially. I'm not gonna buy any because I hate collection boxes. I genuinely despise them. Shipping them is an absolute pain. Storing them's a pain too. Even storing ETBs is a pain. So I'll be going with the bundles, but who knows? It's possible, right? Never say never. I don't know what the promo is either. So that I think that would probably play a big role, right? When you look at the Greninja box from Shrouded Fable or the Kingdra one, I think those have outperformed most Shrouded Fable products. So it depends a lot on the promo. What are your thoughts on half boosters for older sets? Good question. I don't have any strong thoughts on them. It's interesting because Hobbiesville and some other stores in Canada started bringing these in during the boom last year. My guess would be a lot of them came from like Europe. I I'm not the largest fan of them. Even if the price per pack makes sense, it just seems like a weird thing that maybe most people won't wanna display. That's kinda like the only reason I've stayed away from them, just because the full box, it's a beautiful piece of art. There's sealed collectors for them. Introducing kind of this half booster, it just seems a bit weird to me, honestly. But I don't think they're gonna do bad. Again, it's probably just gonna follow loose pack price, and then you'll have some level of premium. And who knows, like maybe in the future, those become like super collectible and people like them. But I'm not banking on that happening. I wasn't around when 151 was readily available, but I have to say I can't imagine being an active investor or collector and not buying an absolute ton. Just no brainer. Yeah. Yeah. It was painful. I didn't buy more of that, but I've learned my lesson, right? Prismatic last year, again, it was the same deal. Great set, S tier, great cards, God pack, load up. It's gonna be the same thing with Ascended this year. That's my plan. So any good set now, we just buy. We buy in dollar cost average. By the way, I'm realizing I'm pretty far behind chat. So let me try and get through some of these kind of rapid fire. Do you think it's better to sell some of the SV like Prismatic and DR and move more into Sword and Shield? No, I would hold my Prismatic and Destined. I think the argument's stronger for Destined just because of the crazy run up on the boxes, but I probably still wouldn't do that. Um, let's see what else. I'm looking for questions. Thank you, FOMO, for the shill. Appreciate it. Grayson will keep you on the right track. I try, man. I try. Pokey Painter's in here too. What's good, gang? Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you, man. This dude is not into all the drama. Bro, drama sometimes can be fun, but I learned last year working with like a lot of people that have a lot of money that they do not care for watching cosplaying sociopaths on the internet, right? They're just like, bro, if I'm watching your video, I want you to give me the information in a very time efficient manner. And it was interesting too, like talking to so many of these people, even some of the big YouTubers, they don't watch. And again, I'll give a shout out to Anon again. Like, I don't really have any strong feelings towards the guy or anything, but a lot of the people I've worked with who've watched my channel, obviously, they also watch Anon because you can say whatever you want about his videos, lower production value. The guy's always coughing and stuff. He gets info across really efficiently. So a lot of people that are doing big things in life, they love that. They just want to watch a video, get the information, move on. Whereas a lot of other channels, a ton of fill, and I get it too. Like you want to be entertaining, you want to balance because if your goal is to be a YouTuber, right? And you want to build a brand and you want to get brand deals, you have to have higher levels of production value and you have to do that pandering and be entertaining as well. You can't just be, a channel like myself or non where it's just more information based. So I get it, right? It ultimately depends on what your goal is, but the people I've worked with, most of them just value getting the information and getting it in an efficient manner, right? Without all the fluff. Hector, ¿cómo te ha ido? ¿Qué más? ¿Todo bien? Tuning in while hitting leg day at the gym. Awesome, man. I got to get back in the gym. I've been working out at home for so long. Pull-ups, push-ups, getting my steps in. I have some dumbbells too, but it's maybe this is my sign. I got to get back in the gym. Multiple times this week I've been thinking, I need to get a gym pass, get in there and try and start lifting heavy again. I don't think I'll ever get back to like powerlifting levels. Like the thought of pulling 500 pounds or squatting 500 again, it hurts my back just thinking about it. But it would be nice to, be able to move 2, 3 plates again. So I got to get back in there. Dawn Realm Pictures. Love the channel, man. Set depth or big chases for predicting long-term growth. Ooh, good question. So when we look at the Sword and Shield era, big chases were much more important, right? So, originally my thesis was that sets like Chilling Reign, Brilliant Stars, they were very deep. You had 10, 15, 20 cards over $10 or whatever it was way back in the day. Those were sets that I thought, hey, like these are legit. You have a bunch of cards that you can pull, but the top hit in something like Brilliant's only $200. The top hit in Chilling's 350, maybe in that range, and the Maltras couple $100. Those sets have performed much worse than something like Lost Origin, where the Giratina is $650, $700. Evolving, Evolving's kind of a different beast. Maybe that's a bad example. Fusion Strike, where it's really Gengar, Espeon, Mew, and then maybe Celebi, right? So Sword and Shield era, the top hits, it's been much more important. I think even SV era, you look at something like um Paldean Fates, let's say, the Bubble Muse, $600, $700, whatever it is right now. That set's really top heavy with that, the Charizard and the Gardevoir. Whereas when you look at something like even Shrouded Fable, and stay with me here for a moment, Shrouded Fable has a lot of cards in like the 20, 30, $40 range, like a decent amount. And even when you remove the few playable cards in there that have value because of that reason, like you still have the Persian, the Duskull, Duskull, Dusknoir, the Horsey, like all of those. So I would say for the most part, big chases is probably more important for long-term growth, but I think there's so many more factors that you need to consider, like the opening experience, just general market perception of that set. Like 151, that's something that everybody said is S tier for a very long period of time. And it's like the best set of the era, even though if you look at the top hits, you look at the value in the top 10 cards, there are other sets that have outperformed it. But still, to this day, that ETB is $600. That PCTB is $1,700. So multiple factors to consider, but just based on those two, I would probably go with big chases. And I know I said I was going to rapid fire, and then I take 3 minutes to ramble on. So maybe I'm just being a walking contradiction at this point, but it is what it is. That's what happens when we're live. Let's see. Pokey Painter. I'm not going to bring your comment up, but I agree with you. Yeah, that was, anyone who listened to him last year is probably doing much worse than they could have been doing. Dingo says get Big Ace. I've reached out to Big Ace. We'll probably do something on the Straw Hat Speculator channel, and maybe even this week. We'll see. Like he's really busy, but I've been pestering him because I do want to talk to him. Like he's definitely a polarizing figure, but the guy's running a legit rip and ship, and he was really early into One Piece, so definitely a lot of knowledge that you can get out of someone like him. I'm gonna try and get him to come give a guest presentation to our private group and just see his numbers for the rip and ship. It'll be a good Q&A opportunity because we have a couple guys doing whatnot streams and stuff in there, so that should be a good value and maybe a little bit of a shill for the mentorship program if you guys are interested. So yeah, hopefully I can do something with Ace in the future. Dragonfly says, how can you tell when a set will be S tier in Pokemon? Again, part of it's vibes. Let's be honest. Like part of it is vibes, but I always consider market perception, what other people are saying. But for me, having massive chases is incredibly important. So if you have cards that like the Gengar in Ascended is $1,000 out the gate, multiple cards over $500, God Pack potential, like there's lots of things that you need to consider. But when you look at the value, if you just want one metric, if you look at the top 10 value of Ascended and compare it to everything else in the SV era, it's basically double everything else except maybe even triple everything else except for maybe Prismatic, which I think top 10 value is close to 3K right now. So generally, when something's that far ahead of everything else, it's safe to assume it's S tier. So yeah, that's mainly what I look at. Big popular Pokemon, your Charizards, Gengars, Umbreons, all of those. So um, let's see. Nice haircut. I have the same haircut. Yeah, man. You know, I take the trimmer and just done in a couple minutes. Abraham says, I've been subscribed to you since April 2024, 2 months after you started. Dude, you were early, man. You were early. If you were subbed that early, you would have probably heard the, the crazy Bogota traffic, horns honking. You know, it's funny too, man. When I started, and my wife could attest to this, I would be recording at 11 p.m. sometimes, and I was maybe a block away from like this bar or karaoke place. I don't know. They always had events going. And even though they were a block away, like you could hear the thuds and the rumbling and the music. So I would go into the bathroom. I would have to go into my bathroom because the way the apartment was set up, the bathroom faced inwards, like towards, so like the street was here, bathroom faced inwards towards kind of like a park area. So I would go into the bathroom, close the door. I would shove like a towel under the door and just try and get all the sound out I could. So man, good times, good times. Back when I was just a screen clicker, there was no camera, no overlay. We just talked about TCG player numbers, and we used to do a ton of Poke Beach articles too. The news. I kind of stopped doing that because everyone does it now, and if you're not first to it, everyone's already seen the news, and most people just look at Poke Beach anyways. But yeah, good times. A couple of years ago. Crazy how time flies. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Before you know it, it's going to be Christmas. It's going to be 2027. Prismatic ETBs are going to be $400, and everyone's going to be complaining they didn't buy more. Not financial advice, by the way, guys. Dan says, what to buy right now? Surging Sparks booster box, Paldea booster box, or Ascended this early? And would you sell Evo Skies? I wouldn't sell Evo Skies. I have 2 boxes of like booster boxes. I'm holding those. I have some sleep packs. I don't know if I still have my loose packs. But that's basically all I have of Evolving. I'm keeping it. I bought a lot of Ascended early. The reason for that is I think it's an S tier set. I want to build a very large position. The other thing too, and again, shout out to Anon, like he said this in a video, the sealed ETB cases are probably going to be the most plentiful at release, right? Or, a couple weeks after when Wave 2 comes out. So for me, this time around, I wanted to get a lot of sealed ETB cases. I have 5 now, 3 in my possession, 2 are in the mail. So when if you watch the Cardboard Kingpin episode on the 20th, a couple of those won't be in there because I won't have them in my possession yet. But I have 5 ordered. I would like to get up to at least 100 ETBs on Ascended. I've talked about wanting to get a master case. But, for you, your position, I'll say this. If you're going to buy a booster box, I would rather buy Surging at 250 than I would Paldea at 450. I think those boxes are very similar in terms of like how strong the set is. Again, you can make the argument Paldea, a lot of it was open because it was $80, $90 a box. Didn't get the reprints that Surging's been getting. Like there's a lot of Surging out there. So I think there's a world where even Paldea at 450 could still outperform Surging, but I view those sets as very similar. So if I had to choose one of the two, I would be buying Surging right now. And I like Ascended. So tough choice. Tough choice. I think Ascended or Surging would be the number one. Paldea would not be the priority. But just my take. We did have a super chat come in, so we'll take this too. Raphael or Raphael, I hope. Rafaela? Rafaela Cash? Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Thank you for the super chat. What do you recommend to invest for newcomers? Great question if you're new here. So I did make a video yesterday. If you want to go watch it, I gave, I think, 10 recommendations, 10 or 11. Surging would be one of them because I think it's a very safe bet, considering where all the other booster boxes are in terms of price. Don't know if it'll be best investment, but surging booster boxes are up there. What else did I put in the video? Black Bolt, White Flare, ETBs. I think those are pretty good shouts too. Destin booster bundles, Prismatic booster bundles, I think are probably one of the best buys right now. The fact that those are like $70, Prismatic's been out over a year at this point. We just had a restock of them. Price per pack's $11 ish right now. Like it's a pretty good buy. Honestly, I'm talking myself into maybe just buying more Prismatic bundles at this point. But yeah, Prismatic bundles, surging booster boxes, White Flare, Black Bolt, ETBs. I like Ascended, but if you're a newcomer, you might not have the budget or be willing to have the budget that I have, and I think you should have for Ascended because it's something where you should probably be ready to dollar cost average over the next year or two. So maybe going with something like Prismatic bundles or surging booster boxes. I think those are fine. But I would recommend go and watch that video because I think there was a couple other things I'm forgetting to say that I put in there. But so many good choices right now, guys. That's the crazy thing about Pokemon investing right now. You can't miss. You cannot miss. Like there are so many good options out there. And again, I lost track of where I was. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Was I really this far up? This is crazy. I don't think I was this high up. Pradass, worth holding Stellar Crown. Thoughts considering selling my 2 boxes to put into vending inventory or Prismatic. Yeah, I'd probably do that. The thing too, like if you need money for vending, I feel like if you have more money and you're a vendor, just in general, like this is why I recommend going to watch the live stream I did with Dan and just watching his videos. Go watch Brian's videos, Alex's video, like anyone running a business. They will always tell you, right? It's going to be worth it if you have more money on hand. You just roll that money into new product. So, I mean, maybe Alex doesn't because he says at a certain level, if you have enough money, right, the investing, you're going to make more off investing than just actively doing the work. But if you have a fairly small budget, being able to take that $600 from a couple Stellar Crown boxes, you're going to be able to flip that over multiple times and probably get a lot more out of it compared to just holding those boxes. So, yeah, if you're trying to build a business, it's probably a good idea to do that. But again, remember that's coming from someone who doesn't vend, who doesn't really actively, buy and sell collections, even though I'm tempted to start doing that. So if you guys have a collection, 80%, let me know. I might be interested. Domio says, yeah, I have a scraper for TCG player, but eBay is tough since there is no consist. Yeah, that's the thing. Like we're trying, but it's impossible. Like I've tried really hard and it would save me a ton of time every single day. I'm at the point where I'm thinking about outsourcing just the whole spreadsheet to someone. I think I've said before on stream, my brother-in-law in Colombia, like for him, it would be a great job. Like I'd be able to pay him way more than he would make in Colombia. It would free up time for me. So I've thought about doing that, but yeah, like if I could build a scraper, obviously that would be ideal. TCG player too, it's great. I love the fact that there's data. Like TCG player tells us, for example, like how many boxes sell in a year or in like a 28-day period. Like it's great. I love the graph. I understand the value of a platform like TCG player. I just think in the future, whether it's something that I build with, other people or someone else builds, there's going to be better tools for people to use for investing and then also for the the streams and the YouTube videos. I think there's a better way to integrate certain things to make the experience better. But we'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell. There are things in the pipeline on my end, though, that I'm hopeful can turn into something big. And I'll let you guys know about that once we have something concrete. Um, I was actually past this part. Sorry. Let's see. 3:03. We're about an hour behind chat still, guys. I'm gonna try and go rapid fire through some of these. We'll go as long as we need to answer most questions, but we'll try and keep things short. Um, I do want to bring this up because this is something important. So Angela says, "This sounds extremely ignorant, but I would guess it will be extremely hard when you decide it's time to sell your investments. Will there be actual people buyers in the future willing to pay that amount?" I mean, it's a great question to ask, Angelo. Um, I would say, right, and let me throw the data up on screen here again. Let me go back to Sword and Shield era booster boxes, and I don't know why it's kind of bugging out right now. Let's see. There we go. Perfect. So you can see here, Evolving Skies is a $2,500 booster box. There are 3 selling per day on eBay. Buy it now only, right? So if you add in auctions, that number is even larger. So items worth thousands of dollars are selling multiple times a day, and that's just one platform. Think about how many sales there are on Facebook, on TCG Player, on whatnot. You look at your rip and ships, right? Like go watch a Wenzel TCG stream. Those guys are going through 20, 30, $40 packs like this, right? All day, every night they're going. So there will be buyers most likely, right? We can't guarantee anything. The future is not guaranteed, but any set, any product right now, even team up. Let me show you guys the Sun and Moon era data again. And my goal in this video is to only show the the Sword and Shield era stuff. But here's Sun and Moon. This was the most recent update I did in February on the 24th. Next update will be March 24th. So next week, next Tuesday, you can see here, team up, right? It's a $10,000 booster box. There were, what is that, 7 sales? Am I reading that correctly? 7 sales over the past 28 days. So, not crazy. No, we're not seeing one a day, right? But that is still fairly liquid for a $10,000 item. Like, I don't know what more you could get out of that. I mean, Unified Minds, Cosmic's a $4,000 box, 3,700, whatever it is, 10 boxes. So like 0.4 per day, 0.3, whatever it is. They're still moving. There are still people buying these products. So if that's your opinion, and again, like you acknowledge that maybe it comes off as extremely ignorant, and no bashing you at all, by the way. It's something where you should ask these questions. 100% you should be asking these questions, but at the same time, go look at the data and test your thesis, right? And try and fight back against your beliefs and really try and get to a point where you're confident in what you actually believe, because a lot of people have beliefs that in reality don't really line up with what's going on. This is great from Zuko. I'm not even a One Piece guy, and I still prefer to open One Piece over Pokemon. Pokemon is just too brutal. Dude, I'll say like the pull rates on some sets are very similar to One Piece, but the fact if you open a booster box, you're guaranteed like 2 or 3 hits. I do like that. I also like at times the fact where you don't know what you're gonna get too, but it's just the fact for me, like the cards, like this is why I got into One Piece to begin with. The boxes were $100, $150. You could pull a $4,000 card at essentially the equivalent pull rate of an alternate art from a Sword and Shield era set or an SIR from SV era. That was going to be like $200, right? And the box in Pokemon was $300, $400. Like the numbers just didn't align, right? It didn't make sense. Go PD Pete asks, "Hey Grayson, how do you handle booster boxes with a cut on the top center? Some of these booster boxes from the machines have these cuts from the restocker." Shaking my head. Yeah, that hurts. That sucks. I had the worst for me, PD. I'll tell you this. I had a case of Fusion Strike that came from the Pokemon Center, and it would have been a sealed case at the warehouse, but they opened it to put the packing slip inside. Sometimes they would put them on the outside, but most of the time they cut it open, put it in the inside. They cut like 5 of the boxes out of 6 of them. They all had kind of like slits or indents on the top. Those were like the first boxes I moved off of. I don't think it's the end of the world, but again, like you're not going to get a massive premium on them. You're not going to get 100% market value. So, is it something you want to sell and then move into a mint box? Probably a good idea, right? Because if the box is $200 now, you have to take a 10% cut, let's say, of market price. So you're getting 225. Say the box is $2,500 in the future and you're taking a 10% cut. Well, that's now $250. So stuff like that, I think it's probably worth moving out of sooner rather than later and getting minty boxes. But yeah, that's unfortunate, man. That sucks. Um, Zachary asks, where do you buy them then? eBay or other cheaper places elsewhere? So I buy a lot of stuff on Shopify still. Facebook groups are good. You definitely have to do a lot more searching in Facebook groups, and it's something where if you don't have the time, it might not be the best route for you. But you could also put out an ad in a Facebook group, like looking to buy, for example, sended ETBs at $100, right? You could put out an ad like that, willing to buy maximum 20, 40, unlimited, whatever it is, right? So you can do that too. Facebook groups, Shopify, eBay is generally the most expensive I've found. So I don't really buy anything on eBay unless you're getting a really good deal on auction. Actually, let's see. Let me read this first. Without getting into too much info, have you talked about how oil in Iran could fall? Okay, I can bring this up. This is fun. Fluent in progress, politics aside, without getting into it much, have you talked about how oil in Iran could possibly affect the hobby? Fluent, this is something that we're like, I don't really want to get into it because the macroeconomics, it's something where like I'm not a massive expert. So I understand if oil gets more expensive, people might have less disposable income and then maybe they spend less money on cards. Like I get it, but it's something where I'm just not fully educated. So I don't even want to sit here and bullshit and try and, talk about it. So yeah, it could affect the hobby for sure. And I'm positive there are more educated people out there that are willing to talk about it. But for me, it's something I'm going to avoid just for that reason. Not even the politics side of things. It's just for that reason. I actually love talking about politics, which is something I should probably avoid talking about on this channel because you never want to alienate certain portions of your audience over things like that. So yeah, that's why I'm not going to talk about it. But interesting conversation for sure. Let's see. Pack Hype Collective stacking up on ascended ETBs at lame stop after 5% pro, $94. That's a pretty good price. Why are new people always acting like it's going to crash? Like, what were they doing? Pokey Crypt, I think, part of it is there's just so much to learn, right? Like people, if they're new here, if they just watch a couple videos on the internet, right? Like if you unfortunately land on the wrong YouTube channel, people telling you that prismatic ETBs when they're 85, $90 are going to go to $40, right? And that's your only source of information, you're going to have a very warped view of what's going on. So, and again, like I can't remember the name of it, but there is a curve, right? Where it's like when you start out in something, you feel like you know nothing, and then you learn a little bit, and then you get overconfident. And then as you progress, like you realize you basically know nothing. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I think people that are very new, they just have a lot to learn, and that's why. Will they surpass Unified Minds ETB? Leo, what would surpass them? Hmm. I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Sorry. If you leave a comment, I'll try and get back to it. Um, Kadeen says, hi, Grayson. Hope you're doing well. I thought about selling my Sea and Skyboxes 50 total to have some capital to start buying Ascended when Costco or Sam's starts releasing product. Thoughts? If you're doing so because you want capital specifically for like Sam's Club and Costco drops, and you think you're going to be able to get a lot of product very cheap, I understand why you'd want to do that. So I don't think it's like the worst idea in the world. So yeah, you could do it. Again, just in general, right? Like it's always important to have capital. Always important. Like it is, it's crazy to think back to when December 2024, January 2025, 151 bundles were getting restocked on Walmart.ca. And I got a lot of them at the time. But if I had an extra 50 or $100,000, you guys would probably just see an entire wall of 151 bundle displays behind me, right? Like I bought as many as I felt comfortable buying at that time, right? Like I probably even went over budget at that point because I knew it was just such a good deal to buy those at MSRP at the time. And it was old MSRP. Like it wasn't the new, 20, 25% increased price here in Canada. So yeah, like having capital, it's incredibly important. Anytime there's good opportunities, you're gonna be able to jump on them. So Sean says Crimson Invasion and Shining Fates, two of my favorite ETB buys at the moment. I'm not sure if this is bait, Sean. If it isn't and you are buying them, I'm happy for you. Hopefully it works out well. I will say Shining Fates, those ETBs do move. Like a lot of them do sell on eBay, surprisingly. Actually better than Celebrations, I'm pretty sure. More often than not, better than Crown Zenith. So interesting. Um Critical asks, what do you think about Ascended Heroes Mega Lucario clip or Mega Lucario Premium? I don't know what this is. Is this like the 10-pack premium collection thing? Is that the promo in it? Could do well. I haven't seen the promo. I don't know much about the products. I'll be honest, like I haven't really been paying attention to any of the ancillary releases that are coming. For me, it's like ETBs, and then my goal is I really want to get some of those bundle displays, if they are actually real things coming. So any of these other products, I'm not really paying attention to. Steve, thanks for stopping by, man. Question: how are you storing all the ETBs you have planned to buy? Do you have any concerns about space in the future? So a lot of my ETBs are still in my office here in this location. You can see them behind me. A lot of my smaller stuff, that's more expensive, most of it actually is now stored in a different location. I can get, let me think, 6, 8. I could probably get, like, if I needed to, 30 cases worth of ETBs in my office. And then I do have more storage at the other place, like a lot more storage there. So I could, in theory, probably have like 100 ETB cases and be fine with it. So I'm not super concerned. I think if you just get like solid shelves that go to the roof or at least close to the ceiling, that's a good way to store them. I will say the shelves behind me, they're nice, but I wish I would have found ones that were maybe like a bit, either a bit wider or a bit thinner. That way there wouldn't have been kind of like, so you can see if you look at like the middle shelf here, there's two ETB cases stacked high, two wide, which is great, but there's kind of like room in the middle. So it's not optimal if I just wanted to use them for ETB cases. But if you find good cases, you can store a lot of these very easily. Colin says, geez, you're still live, machine. Dude, I didn't do a video today. So we're doing the live, and I think we're close to getting caught up on chats. I'm trying to, right? Like if people have questions, I try and answer all of them. I apologize if I miss a question. And Colin, you know me, man. Like I start rambling sometimes too, which is not a good thing. It's definitely not efficient, but we're rolling with it. Jay says too, or JJ. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Thoughts on vintage PSA 10s? train into Evolving Skies booster box, for example, Dark Japanese or Dark Charizard Japanese into 2 boxes. Look, I know nothing about vintage, okay? I'm an absolute noob when it comes to vintage, so don't ask me if it's a good idea to sell it, to buy it, etc. I like evolving. Um, you could do it. Like if vintages run up a ton, you feel like it's near a peak. Sword and Shield hasn't moved in a long time. So if you want to move into something that's probably going to be less volatile and still potentially has a lot of upside, I don't hate it. But again, remember, that's me, biased opinion, biased answer, etc. Angelo says, what would be your guess of what the Pokemon market would react? What would be your guess what the Pokemon market would react if there were to be a recession in the next year or so? Dude, it's so tough to tell. You know, like I try and just have money available to take advantage of opportunities. Whatever happens in the short term, it is what it is. Again, guys, like I'm not an expert in macroeconomics, in international trade, anything like this, you know, the economies in general, like those are very complicated subjects that people talk about. And it's like you could study those for decades and not know everything. So I'm not going to sit here and try and act like I know what's going to happen because I don't. My advice and what I'm doing is always trying to make sure that I have money available. So if things tank and there are good opportunities to buy, I'll be able to buy. The other thing too, I just try and be in products that I think are going to do well long term. So if something unfortunate happens over the next couple of years and Pokemon's not as hot, I feel confident that in the future, if things rebound, those will be the sets that do the best. So that's all I do. Maybe people want to go deeper and try and speculate what would happen, but I don't want to go down that route. And apologies, that's kind of like a roundabout answer. Wait for me to answer your question, but that's just how I'm thinking through it right now. Kellen says you're a real one. Thanks for the feedback. Hopefully it helped, man. Hopefully it helped. Thoughts on the Greninja UPC, Team Rocket UPC? All right. So it's interesting, when somebody quotes 2 sentences out of a 10-minute video and then they use it for their intro and their conclude or their outro, whatever, right? This is where we can go deep. We're on a live stream, okay? And I know a lot of people probably don't watch my older videos talking about UPCs. My biggest gripe with UPCs in general is that they're big, they're hard to store, they're harder to ship, okay? Obviously, specialty set ETBs, UPCs, or why am I saying ETBs? UPCs, guys. Sorry, UPCs, SPCs. Ignore the ETB part. We're talking about UPCs. My biggest gripe with the Greninja one, the Team Rocket one, you have a bunch of different sets inside. Okay, it doesn't mean it's the worst thing in the world, but I like the specialty sets. Your 151, Crown Zenith, obviously Prismatic now, that SPC. Like it's a very strong set. The entire thing is Prismatic. You're not limited to the weakest set. For example, the Charizard UPC, there's what, Journey Together in there, the Terapagos UPC, the Greninja one. When I make a video and I say I don't think these are the greatest investments, how many bad UPCs are there? Like you have the Arceus V-Star, which is okay, but it's not that great. You have the old Sword and Shield one, the Zacian Zamazenta. That thing's trash. It barely moves. The Greninja, obviously, that's actually kind of expensive because there's not a ton of them out there, but not great pack selection. Terapagos, really weak pack selection in there. Promos are weak. So there's a lot of UPCs that are genuinely like not that great. If it's a legit specialty set, strong promo, strong set in general, it's a great product, right? So it all depends. When I look at the Greninja one, not the best pack selection. I don't even know the promo card in there. I honestly can't remember. Um, but it's something that doesn't move super well, but there's not a ton of them out there. So it's kind of a scarcity play in my eyes. Probably not something I would invest in. Way better products out there, in my opinion. It's kind of the same thing with the Rocket one. The promo's better, obviously, because that's the Moltres, right? And then I think you have some Destined Rivals in there. Let me check, actually. Team Rocket Ultra Premium Collection. I brought these up in a video the other day because I think they were kind of moving. Yeah, you can see here. So they bottomed out around 170, 175. You have Team Rocket's Moltres, okay, and then 18 packs. I don't know exactly what packs are in these. So again, like if it's got Journey and stuff, it's probably going to be limited a little bit by that weaker set. So yeah, I don't know. It's Team Rocket. Like maybe you just get one for that nostalgia factor, or maybe you make a larger play into them. But something like the Greninja, I feel pretty confident in saying that's kind of a meh product. It's something that doesn't really excite me, that I wouldn't put money into. But hopefully, over those past few minutes, even though I was rambling, little bit deeper explanation, guys. Not taking two snippets of a video and twisting the truth there, guys. Thoughts on Black Bolt heavy, or excuse me, Black Bolt White Flare heavy hitters Costco boxes. Again, it's a collection box. It's something that I don't want to hold. They take up a lot of space. I hate shipping them. At least with ETB cases, a little bit easier to deal with, in my opinion. But if you're getting them at a decent price, couldn't be the worst play in the world, but it's something that I'm not super excited about. I know we have a guy in our mentorship group, really smart dude. He's running a rip and ship. He bought a lot of those, I'm pretty sure, for his streams because it was a good price per pack. So if you have a way to offload them, you're going to use them for a business. I think that makes it kind of a no brainer. But again, it depends on what your plan is for them. Mashup asks, what's your portfolio value? I would have to check. I think currently everything is probably close to like 360,000 Canadian, something like that. My guess would be. You'll see in a couple days. We're gonna do the new Cardboard Kingpin update, but it's in that range. I think it'll probably be closer to, actually, maybe it's like 365 now. I don't even know. I think it'd be close to 370 once I get in all my Ascended stuff. Rudy's biggest blind spot is vintage Magic. Yeah, I agree. That kind of is a blind spot for him, Jason. Hmm. Question: would you rather have a Fusion booster box, a Prismatic bundle display, or an Ascended Heroes ETB case? A current market. Thank you. Wow. A current market. That's tough. See, like I don't want to answer this because I feel like you're asking me this. They're all in the same price range, and I don't want to influence your buying decision. They're all great products. They're all great. Hmm. Like, you could make arguments for all of them. Fusion's out of rotation. Prismatic bundles are probably not getting more of those. They're also fairly scarce in North America. And then Ascended ETB cases, like, do we get more cases in the future, right? So, wow, tough decision. Really tough decision. They're all great choices. Roll a dice. If it's one or a two, go with Fusion. Three or four, go with the bundle display. Five or six, go with the Ascended ETB case. I don't know. Just looking for questions, guys. I think we're getting fairly close to being caught up on chat. Let's see here. We've been going for over 2 hours, so I do want to get out of here fairly quickly. Let's see. We'll go through this fairly quickly. Almost said quaxly. Question: if you had to choose between Pokemon and One Piece, what would you choose? I'm in both, but heavier in One Piece. The amount you can pull from a box compared to Pokemon doesn't make sense. If I had to choose one game, I'm going with Pokemon. The reason for that, it's been around longer. One Piece, I do have some level of worry about how large the collecting side is going to be, how large their reach can potentially be, and what's going to happen after the story ends. Those are all things that I do worry about a bit. The growth last year, it made sense to me. Everything was undervalued. I think One Piece is still going to have a good year. But at the same time, Pokemon's probably going to do better now for the rest of 2026 compared to One Piece. And, the liquidity in this game compared to One Piece, it's really unmatched. So For me, if I had to pick a game, and I kind of have really, because still I think it's like 70% or more of my portfolio is still in Pokemon. I would pick Pokemon all day long for those reasons. But I think that there's still going to be products in One Piece that do very well. Guys, I see a ton of messages too that aren't questions, and I appreciate you guys all, being in chat and all that jazz. I am just trying to get to as many questions as possible before we get out of here, but I appreciate you all leaving your input and stuff. Toronto Six God question. Hello, Grayson. Good day. Good day to you as well. Thank you for stopping by another stream. With majority of 151 singles that had some correction, when will be the momentum to shift back up? No clue on singles. Genuinely no clue. Even the sealed product, like who knows how long it's going to be. It's something where there's tons of variables, right, at play there. So it's tough to tell, but I feel like the best way to go about it is not to be too worried about that. At least that's how I view it. Now, if you're vending, if you're asking from a vending perspective or you buy and sell singles a lot, I'm probably not the guy to ask, unfortunately. And it would probably matter to you a lot more then. So hopefully that's a sufficient answer. But if it's not, apologies. Let's see. Kind of early stream today, huh? Deuce, I just didn't want to do a video today. Figured hopping on a live, chatting with you guys, it'd be a lot more fun. I also did show, I'll throw these up on screen one more time before we get out of here. Sword and Shield era update from today. This was going to be the video if I did one, talking about all the booster boxes. We're starting to build a little bit of momentum in the Sword and Shield era. You can see with a lot of the newer, I guess to say, alt art sets from the Sword and Shield era, most recent releases. And then obviously Evolving Fusion leading the way there in terms of sales volume. Victor says probably niche, but any opinion on the Double Crisis pair? I'm assuming you're referring to the Groudon and Kyogre. Again, singles, probably not the best person to ask. I like the cards, but in terms of an investment or where I think they're going, I genuinely have no idea. Pokemon Center tomorrow, question mark. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't follow drops anymore at all. Like we have a guy in our private Discord who tries to, send us the links when things are dropping. Appreciate you, Jackson, but I don't stay on top of it at all anymore. So no clue. Sam's was a pretty less hassle drop. That's good to hear. If you could get some Sam's product, that's awesome. When's the best time to sell older items, even like Sword and Shield? Okay. Short answer. It's gonna be vague. You're not gonna like it. The best time to sell is when you stop believing in the product as an investment. Best time to sell. If sealed Pokemon is treated like a financial asset, what actually drives higher prices? New collectors, capital rotation, or speculation? And how should that shape strategy today? So there's a lot of things like you listed that definitely play a role, right? Like people collecting product, that's going to play a role. There are sealed collectors out there. Sure, capital rotation, speculation, that's definitely playing a role. The other thing too, you know, not everyone's hoarding this stuff. That's been the conversation for a very long period of time. A lot of this is being opened. Just go look at pop reports. Again, I talked to Dan about this. Go sub to Dan's Patreon. He has a tool where you can kind of play with like the pack destruction for certain sets. Like a lot of this stuff is being opened. And if there's still demand from people, consumers at Rip and Ships for the product, those Rip and Ships are going to have to buy the product from somewhere, right? So that's why I'm in sealed product. That's obviously playing a big role. But you're right, like collectors, sealed collectors, speculation, investors, it all does factor in. To what extent you could argue, but for me, as long as there's people ripping packs open, again, like go watch a Wenzel stream. If they're going 24/7, right, just opening packs, I'm going to be bullish on sealed investing. The market is cooked. Prado, what's up, man? How's it going? I'll try and get through. We're almost caught up, I think. Or we're getting closer. Let's see. How would you split budget if you want to go for some Crowns and the Prismatic? I'm thinking 70% to 30% since it's way older and some deals still might occur for Prismatic. I don't know if I'd go that heavy, like 70-30 crown prismatic. Mm, I don't know. I think I'd want to go a lot heavier and like prismatic bundles at 70 bucks. Like I think I'd rather buy that over like any crown product right now, to be honest. That's just me. Like I would probably just go 100% into the bundles. Yeah. Oh, you said 70% Priz. Okay. Oh no, that's people commenting. Sorry. But yeah, I would probably just go super heavy in Priz. Question: bought an Evolving Skies booster box with a corner dent that's small for 2350. How much less compared to the market? Again, no clue. It's going to depend on the dent. It's going to depend on the buyer on any given day. Maybe somewhere between 5 and 10%. I think the most important thing for people who are going to open it, which, when you get to these more expensive boxes, is not as large of a population of people, but for them, it's going to be the seal being intact in the future. Sealed collectors is going to be how the box looks. So it's going to depend a lot on what the dent actually looks like. Where's the best place to source Ascended Heroes ETB case in the US? US, I can't help you. I know a couple guys in the private Discord were buying from Double Infinity Gaming, so maybe that's a good place to start. But anywhere else, I'm clueless. I'm from Canada, unfortunately. PokeTuner question: when pricing out items to buy, sell, sometimes eBay last sold are lower, sometimes about 150 to $100 compared to last sold on TCG Player. How would you recommend date, or how would you recommend date? How would you recommend to price an item in that case? Yeah, so I mean, you could price high for sure on eBay, and if you want to put on the promoted listings, whatever, 5% price high, can absolutely do that. I think when buying things, try and go off of eBay if you can, right? TCG players generally pretty inflated. So it is what it is, right? Always try and buy at the lowest price, sell at the highest. So you know the game. You know the game, PokeTuner. Um, how do you feel about Korean and Japanese? Not a fan, all in. Only English. Only thing that I invest in. Pokey Asset says, "What's your plan for when you eventually want to sell?" I will tell people that I'm selling the product and then hope they buy it. No, but like I have avenues at this point, whether it's selling to uh people that have very heavy pockets who are gonna offer me 80-85% on certain items. Could go that way. I could sell it myself on eBay if I want to do the work for a couple of extra percentage points. You can always throw it on Facebook. So there are tons of ways that I could potentially go about it. But for me, just because I only sell a few things at a time, I'll generally just sell it myself. Now, if tariffs go away and I can send stuff to the States much easier and cheaper, then I'll probably sell a lot more to contacts in the States because a lot more people down there. And I know they can move it. They could throw it through consignment, make their percentage as well. So yeah, that's something that hopefully will open back up in the future. Thoughts on rolling Crown Zenith into Ascended? Paid $3 a pack. That's awesome, bougie. Yeah, you could do it for sure if you want. I'm still bullish on Crown Zenith, but which one's going to do better? Tough to tell. Steve says, "Is your other storage facility costing you money? Considering a storage locker, but it'll be $200 a month." So, um, yes, I'm paying a little bit. I don't want to give away too much information. For security reasons. I am paying to store it in the other location, but it's not costing me with money, let's say. Um, I'm trading something else for it. But yeah, definitely a trade-off. $200 a month. Wow. Yeah, it gets pricey, hey. Things definitely get pricey. Look, I would say like if you're not on the internet actively telling people that you have a big position. Now, if you need space, that's something different, but if it's a security thing, which for me it was, um, where was I going with this? Yeah, if you need the space, I understand it. It is what it is. Like you kind of just have to sigh at that point and, move on. But if it's a security thing, if you're not a public figure on the internet, I would probably just keep a lot of my stuff at my house, right? As long as you're not telling people, as long as you trust the people who are in your life, you probably should be fine. And it's probably going to be easier too to get it insured that way. Whereas if you have it in multiple locations like I do, it's a little bit more difficult. Smith says, question, my bubble mu I pulled just graded a 10. Sell today in 6 months or 6 years. No clue. Don't ask me about singles. Congratulations on pulling a bubble mu though and getting it in a 10. If it were me, I would probably sell it because it's on the way up. But again, that is me, right? I'm not bullish on slabs long term. I don't own any. I have one piece slab in my collection because it was a manga I pulled, but everything else sealed product for sure. Do you have any other investments like S&P 500? If so, percentage of total net worth is in Pokemon versus traditional investments. I think with the run up of One Piece and Pokemon, Steve, it's probably still like 40% or more. 45%, I would guess at this point is still in TCGs. Everything else goes into the S&P in my TFSA, and then I have some home equity. So that's how everything works at this point. But yeah, TCGs in general, my guess is it might even be closer to 50 now. I would have to go through all my accounts and stuff, but yeah, I think it's somewhere between 45 and 50 still, which is crazy. Like I don't like that it's that high now based on where my net worth is. I want to get that down eventually to hopefully 10, 15, 20%. And it's interesting too, because I've had people tell me in this space, like, you're really good at what you do. You're very knowledgeable about it. Why don't you just keep all your money in this and just go ham? I get it, but I'm also at a point where, if I don't mess up royally and all my other investment accounts are kind of just, on autopilot, I'll be able to retire in like 10, 15 years. And that's my goal, right? So um it's something where I'm just starting the process, let's say, of moving money from things that I view as potentially being a little bit riskier to much safer investments. But yeah, I'll check. I'll check because I'm curious if it's closer to 50, but my guess would be it's 45 right now. DC says, do high-end OP cards have liquidity? Short answer is yes. Sure, the boxes can contain cards worth thousands, but do people actually buy those cards regularly? Yeah, DC, I would say watch one of my Saturday night videos or like Sunday morning, depending on where you live in the world. I do a market watch every Saturday night, my time, for cards over $1,000 and sealed product over 1,000. When I started doing that in like May of last year, a video would be maybe 10 minutes and we'd have one or two cards over $10,000 that sell. Nowadays, if I do one of those videos, there's 10 to 20 cards over 10K that are selling in a week, right? Multiple cards over 20K normally, lots of cards in like the thousand to $10,000 range as well. So very, very liquid. Thoughts on Riftbound? I like it. I just haven't had enough time to really research it, unfortunately. It's something I've been trying to get to, but again, like just super busy at this point. So it's not unfortunately at the top of the priority list. But I do like Riot and I think it's something interesting that could pay off. I know there are some people in the private group who are much more bullish on Riftbound than I am. Oh, what's your ROI on the portfolio? I want to say it's like 200% currently, around 200%. And again, like you got to remember, I'm constantly, buying new stuff every couple of, like, I think I'll go on a rant here for a couple minutes. It annoys me when people say, like, oh, you need to have 400, 500% ROI, like your ROI is so low. Would you guys rather have bought a box for $100? Now it's worth 1,000. You've made 1,000% on your money, whatever. Would you rather be in that scenario or be up 200%, but you rolled over your investments so many times from $100 to now being at the point where your portfolio is like $2,000 or $3,000? So there's utility in moving into newer products at times, right? But again, if you just want the vanity metric of having like the highest ROI return, sure, you'd probably just stay in one or two items for an incredibly long period of time, even if that's not going to be the best play to make the most money long term. If that makes sense. That was probably a very bad way of explaining it, but I just think of people who have a ton of XY stuff still. Sure, you've probably done very well on it, but you probably could have done better if you turned some of that into newer inventory, let's say. I think I answered this already, but when is the best time to sell older items? If you don't believe in it as an investment, that's the best time to sell, I would say. Um, Apacino says, please forgive me if this is a question that's been asked already. All good. But I'm facing a choice of spending $2,500 on a systematic TV case and $2,500 on this booster bundle case. What would be the better LT hold? What is a systematic TV case? I have zero clue what that is, unfortunately. So I can't answer that for you. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that is. Unfortunately, I can't. Let's see. Oh, okay. This makes more sense. Prismatic ETP case for a prismatic booster bundle case. What would be the better long-term investment? I would probably go with the ETB case. Considering they're similar price, yeah, I'd probably still go with the ETB. Is tough to tell though. Really tough to tell. I mean, you're what, 90 packs versus 150. I mean, maybe at that point it's bundles, actually. Actually, maybe it is bundles at that point. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it might actually be bundles. I don't know. I don't know. Don't take my advice. We've been going way too long. I'm getting hungry. I'm losing my mind at this point. Please stop selling your body, Grace. Oh. Yeah, we're moving. Okay, we're basically caught up here. Let's see. Are you close to millionaire net worth? I'm getting close. I would have to check. Hopefully this year. I mean, if Pokemon continues popping off, we're probably gonna get there. My goal is 1 million in TCGs, by the way. If anyone's interested, every 20th of the month, we do the Cardboard Kingpin series where we just track everything I have in TCGs. So if you guys are curious about every single sealed item I own and what I paid for them, I recommend checking out that series. I have the link on the channel as well. Um, Estimates put square footage at just double current printing capacity with the new facilities. That actually enough to quell demand. Patrick, we actually talked about this on live stream with Dan the other night. It's an interesting conversation too, because I think someone asked us, maybe it was Steve, if Steve's still in here, about the how much product being printed would it take to get products back to like 2022, 2024 levels? And Dan said 2x. And I think that's a really good guess too. Somewhere between 2 and 3x is what I said. And if they're doubling the square footage, I mean, maybe we get there. Who knows, right? So it's tough to tell. It's interesting to see how it'll play out. He means yeah, sorry. I was losing. I should just scroll down a little bit to see the next message there. Do I have any console calls tonight? Not tonight. I could do tomorrow. Tonight, unfortunately, won't work. My wife's applying for PR, so I've set a block of time to help get the final couple forms done. So we're doing that tonight. But yeah, the rest of the week it should be very open. And Steve too. Like if you look at my Cal link and no times work for you, just send me an email or something, and we can figure out a time that works for both of us. I try and be as flexible as possible. 2x, that was very helpful. Yeah, it's interesting too, right? Like when you put it that way and then you think about the printing facility coming, like it will be interesting. It will be really interesting to see. Appreciate you answering the question. Yeah, no problem. Hopefully it helped. We're still live. We are still live, but we're done. We are done now, guys. We've been going 2 hours, 40 minutes. I think DJ might be live right now if you guys want to go chat with DJ. He's the GOAT. I'm gonna go eat something, exercise, and then spend some time with the fam. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate y'all being here. I hope you're having a great week. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. I'll catch you guys in the next one.